Okay, let's do this one more time. Depending on how much more info they show off later on, this could very easily be the last Xenoblade 3 analysis video before the game actually releases, and that should be okay with you because they showed off quite a lot, to the point where I honestly don't think I need any more pre-release info besides maybe another trailer that just intercuts things we've seen in all of the other ones together. Because this is 25 minutes of new information, and I managed to make over an hour and a half long video out of a 3-minute reveal trailer, I am going to do what I usually consider very lame and low effort, and just go through the actual YouTube video of the trailer, pointing things out as I go along, instead of doing a full, structured, premeditated analysis, because that video would literally never come out, and I want to be able to do other things with my life. I am also going to be connecting this to the European and Japanese websites for the game, so there's all of that. And spoilers for Xenoblade 1, X2, Torna Future Connected, and potentially Xenoblade 3, because while they did not really spoil a lot in this direct, there might be a few things we can extrapolate into spoilers, so you have been warned. Let's get started here. A lot of this beginning is pure story stuff, which means there's a lot of things. And like on the first frame, we already run into very interesting things, because we have a sepia-toned movie theater thing, which is already a Xenogears reference. I should also mention the fact that I am going to be alluding to story and world things from both Xenogears and Xenosaga, but the only times I'll go in depth with stuff like that is for world-related things. So I may explain some world-building things, but not plot details, and if I do explain plot details, it's going to be in a non-spoiler context. So you can go into this without knowing anything about Gears and Saga, and still come out unspoiled for those games. However, theater, sepia tone, that is a Xenogears reference. And this also obviously sort of looks like the Fonz Mima Playhouse, and this is not actual gameplay footage. So it looks like this much, at least, is a mock-up of something. This clearly looks like it's made in-game, this whole theater area, and this isn't the Fonz Mima Playhouse. It's a much bigger place with bigger seating and stuff. Could be a rebuilt version in Araya or something, but I don't know. And then we cut to this, with Wild Ride walking on screen. Very interesting. Wild Ride is confronted with a person in red armor, who we have seen very briefly in the reveal trailer, someone like that walking away from Melia. So now here we get to see that these people are actually a faction in Ionios, and not Melia's personal guard or whatever.
All talk when you left here, but you've nothing to show for it, D.
And this person name drops that Wild Ride's real name, or at least his moniker that he'll be going by, is D. Just the letter D. So these red armored people are somehow simultaneously the Gazelle Ministry from Xenogears, the Testaments from Xenosaga, the Black Knight from Xenoblade X, and the Imperial Liberation Front from Trails of Cold Steel. I don't know how they managed to pull that off, but they sure did. And then he de-transforms, and we can see that Wild Ride is apparently a fusion of two people. There's the guy who looks primarily like Graf, and then there's this jester-looking person who it seems might have Hyentia wings under that helmet, unless that's just a way of making it look, and they're not really an actual race from Ionios or any previous Xenoblade game or anything like that, but very interesting. He's got that same collar that Lanz does, which is really weird, and he looks even more like Graf in this state. And then D also talks to the other person from before, the one with the tall helmet and a female-sounding voice, and this person's name is P. So we have D and P as the only two name-dropped members of this faction that we get in this entire direct. But then we also have this guy with the owl mask, who's a bit bigger and taller than the rest of them. He's either probably Urian, because he's built very similar to Xenoblade 2 Van Damme, or he's a very specific character who will demonstrate or point out when we get to him later.
Sell it forth in the first place.
And he's like, yeah, I should have been the one to go and do this, blah, blah, blah.
Surely the turn is mine.
And then there's this guy who sounds sort of like Dougal. And we can see the eye color of these people. And I'm fairly certain at least some of them are going to be actual characters, either returning from 1 or 2, or people we've met in 3 in disguise, so the eye color and the voice acting might be a giveaway. However, I do not recognize any of the voice actors for any of these characters, which means either they're people heavily disguising their voices, or they're completely new Xenoblade 3 characters, so we'll only find out the plot twist behind them when that actually happens. And then we have
it's my turn.
Squid Helmet Girl, or whatever, I don't know. And then this is clearly the leader, someone with cracked skin and whitish long hair. Now we will see that this faction has someone who looks like Noah on their side, but this is not the Noah lookalike. This is a different person entirely. Because the hair color is different, and in the zoom out shot we could see he's got these lighty things, and then we can see that there are 6 of these people right now. There's D, there's the high anti-adjuster person, there's the owl guy, there's P, there's the round helmet Podrake person, and then there's Squid Hair. And going back to listen to the voice lines again.
I believe it's my turn next.
All the armor people are just arguing about whose turn to do whatever it is.
Honestly, you make more noise than the rabble at a feast.
And this leader is just like, haha, you're loud and annoying.
Even if you did stop its raging flow, it will soon burst through.
That is very interesting, because even if you did stop its raging flow, it will soon burst through. So, Wild Ride, who seems to be a fusion of D and the Hyentia person, was trying to stop something. Now, this could be a different cutscene and not have anything to do with the Wild Ride encounter early on in the game. This could be transplanting something from later on in the plot, and that's a completely different story, but it seems like the goal of these people is to prevent Ouroboros from happening, and this was sort of a foregone conclusion that at least Noah and Mio were going to fuse early on. Then here in this scene we can see very clearly, because if we go back here, we could see that Round Helmet is the one starting to teleport away, and also that he has an infinity symbol in his eye. This is in his right eye, which I believe makes him Keves, and not Agnes. So these people might not actually stem from Keves or Agnes, so they're probably not beholden to the whole left eye, right eye thing. But hey, if he's from either, he's from Keves, I think. If I remember. Yes, Tyon's special eye was his left eye. You can see this guy starting to teleport away. Then here, you could see he's right there. So these might be from different scenes of the same guys. And if we look here, we could see, very briefly, 2 purple things vanishing here, or at least, yeah, 2 figures disappearing, or appearing, I'm not entirely sure. Then there's these 4 in the middle, who vanish. And then there's D and the one on the right who vanish. So we have 8 of these armored people. And I think these 8, we only see 8 unique designs. You know how I compared them to the Gazelle Ministry from Xenogears? Well, the Gazelle Ministry from Xenogears were the shadowy cabal behind the government of the empire that was secretly behind the conflict of 2 nations in Xenogears. And there were 8 of them. There actually used to be 12, but 4 of them died, and the 12 of them were connected to the 12 Anima relics, which were a thing that were present in Gears and Saga, but not in any of the Blade games. And this game is clearly Xenogears 2, so it's likely that we're going to get some sort of relic thing coming back and might be connected to the Ouroboros or something, since these people can also fuse. So if there are 8 of these people and 3 party members that can fuse into Ouroboros forms, then it might be that there's one other set of Ouroboros people that make the 12th one. Or we can also see just some little light particles here, but they might be a different color than the ones these people make. So this could potentially not be more of these guys. This could just be the fake Noah, who is wearing less full body covering armor than these guys, and as such is probably not the same type of person as them. And there's also, yeah, there's a spot in the spotlights here and a spot in the spotlights here where more people could fit, but I'm not entirely sure how that goes. And going to go to the Japanese site though, and Chrome is very unresponsive, unfortunately, especially with this site. And we can get a bunch of more of these guys, and we can see these people are called consuls. And then it name drops D and gives him an actual design, and here's the fake Noah. But I believe, I forget where it's mentioned. Yeah, it said that the consuls sort of work in the background of the 2 nations. And I am going to double check, just pull out the translator app and throw it over this text to see if there's anything very significant being missed here, because it could very well be. So, consoles are connected to both colonies in Keves and Agnes. They're mysterious, and in battle, they can transform into a creature known as Moebius with heights exceeding 5 meters. So, we guessed, based on the second trailer, and there being one art that someone had that did extra damage on Moebius, that was going to be an enemy type. And yes, it is. Wild Ride is a Moebius creature who is either a fusion of D and someone else, or D happened to teleport in with this person, and Wild Ride is actually just one person. It is worth noting Wild Ride has 2 infinity symbol cores on it, so I'm guessing Wild Ride could be D and fake Hyantia, or I don't really know. It seems like they don't fuse as a necessity based on the wording of that, but I'm not sure.
Through. Well then, let us see how far the flow brings them this time.
And that line is very important. Let's see how far the flow brings them this time. People were considering time loops were going to be a thing for ages since the first trailer came out, but this is quite possibly the first indication of that in the game itself beyond just speculation. He's talking about this time and seems to be alluding to the awakening of the party members' Ouroboros forms. So either other Ouroboros have done what the party is going to try to do now, or other incarnations of the party in past versions of the universe have done that. And keep in mind, the framing device of this entire direct is the Emperor, the consoles, and fake Noah watching events of the game play through on the theater screen. So it looks like D and all of the other consoles in these people might actually exist outside of the world of Ionios somehow, and can then descend down into it to manipulate things to their whims, and either something causes it to reset every time, or the world is some sort of experiment to see how far the Ouroboros can get, and this is just the latest in a long, long string of incarnations of this world and versions of the player characters we're going to meet. And then the trailer continues, and we can see dead soldiers from both nations. This Keves armor looks a lot like a thing from X. Big surprise.
We each have a lifespan of 10 years.
This is something GameStop accidentally leaked, that all of the soldiers of the nations have only 10 years to live, so that's kind of a big deal, but we did sort of guess that already, though people who didn't want to look at leaks wouldn't have known that.
We call them terms. Life begins with our first term and ends at the close of our 10th.
And that's just, hey, new in-world info, they're going to have their own terminology for certain things, so term for year makes sense, especially since we don't know how years in Ionios work. It makes a lot of sense. Because Xenoblade 2 took place on Earth, so it having a lunar calendar in years very similar to the ones we have now makes perfect sense, but if Ionios isn't on Earth, their names for everything could be completely different.
Victory!
This is just kind of generic Machina person. It looks like, obviously the Keves forces won here at great cost because there's a bunch of dead people, but it looks like they did successfully destroy or defeat an Agnes colony.
And over the course of those 10 years...
And it looks like the actual Keves party members took part in this because we can see Noah, Lance, Uni, and Riku all there, and based on Lance's tattoo, this happened very close to the start of the game.
We fight continually.
The song playing here is vocal. I heard people freaking out like, oh, they're already blowing the ending theme here. Probably not the case. This is probably the drifting soul equivalent. So even if we don't hear it when this actual cutscene plays, we're probably going to hear it relatively early on in the game.
What kind of pep talk is that?
That was just probably Noah's narration from the beginning of the game, where he's just talking about how you only have 10 years to live and then you have to fight through all that. This is a scene we've seen plenty of times, which is the party interacting at what seems to be Van Damme's encampment after they come together for the first time.
Of course we're gonna survive.
So Noah probably said something that was like unencouraging and Uni's roasting him for it.
I've thought about this a lot. About what I can achieve.
That's Mio just talking about what she could do with the time she has. We get another look at the Agnes flute really close up. I don't know where these colors are from, but these patterns are very Mithra-esque, same as the entire Agnes emblem, but this is really more pronounced because we did not get to see either of the flutes, or especially the Agnes flute, up close. We saw the Keves one in the first trailer.
What I'll leave behind.
So it seems like this is Mio's big character arc, her facing her own impending mortality, which makes sense because we'll see in a minute that she is going to be the first one to go.
Then I think of tomorrow and the tremors are back. Will I see the same faces when I wake? Will I even be around to see them?
That's just a cool establishing thing from Tyon, where he's actually being vulnerable and not all smug and in control of everything like he usually is. That's just neat character building. But the thing that scares me is that wording is very Jin-like, so oh boy, I hope Tyon doesn't go down a Jin arc here. We can also see they're in front of an Agnes colony. This is, I think, the colony Tyon came from, in the Great Kate Falls region, and there are particles going up into the sky. We know this is the colony Iserd commands, so did the party just kill Iserd? Or are they seeing off just random people who happen to die at the time? Then this is just people at a Keves encampment getting attacked by Keves, things that look like Mechon. This is probably going to happen a lot throughout the game.
Ready?
Now, the enemy is before you.
I don't know whose voice that is. It's American, it might be Iserd, but I'm not entirely sure.
Chase them to the ends of the world.
Or it's probably this console giving an order to someone. This is the emblem of Keves, and the architecture looks more Mechani or Colony 9-y anyway, so that makes sense. And then we can see a bunch of Keves troopers with something red in their right eyes. So are they being controlled by someone? Or have they been given a power boost by someone?
Ouroboros will lead this world to ruin.
And that's Melia.
You must be erased.
And then this, if we zoom back a little bit, we can see that this is another console turning into a Moebius. It's probably the same guy who was just talking before. It's hard to tell if this is a fusion or not, because we just see it after the new form has been established and is fading in. But again, from the wording, it seems like Moebius aren't necessarily a fusion. They could be made with just one person. And then this looks more like a Vigent from Xenoblade X than anything. Also, this Moebius appears to only have one core in it, so this could be one person and not two.
And we can always grow plenty more.
So that's kind of a big deal. The Moebius forms, or the consoles themselves, get nourished by the life force of the soldiers from the two nations, and he mentions that they can grow more. If you look here, you could see not only are the soldiers passing out and stuff, but when he does this, he's draining the light from the clock of this mech, as well as from the people there. So the consoles are probably the real enemy, or the agents of the real enemy Vandom's talking about, because they have control over colonies and can just wipe out people like that on a whim just to attack the party. And maybe being an Ouroboros makes you immune to them doing that to you, but I'm kind of wondering why he's bothering attacking the party when he could just drain the life force from them like this instead.
Plenty more.
But it's clear that these guys need to be destroyed because obviously they have no regard for human life, even in this world where everyone's at war. And this is just a really cool fight scene. This makes me think of the good Malos fight in Torna and the good Telos fight in Xenosaga 3, where everyone's working together on one big creature. I love the fact that Uni, the gun one, is standing on top of him trying to shoot point blank. And then he does big ground pound, which this could be interesting because Vandam does this exact same move on the party in a later shot in the trailer. However, the voice actor is clearly different, so I don't think Vandam is secretly a Moebius. Then we have Noah Iron Man grabbing onto Mio's hand. I believe if you frame by framed the shot in the second trailer of Noah doing this, we could see barely a piece of Mio's clothing on screen, so I think we knew this was going to happen to begin with. It obviously looked like he was reaching out for someone, so this isn't too big a deal. But it looks like whatever they're doing, they're jumping together. I'm guessing to get this high in the air, they had to pop out of their fusion in order to do this. Like they were in Ouroboros mode, they jumped up high, then they popped out, sort of doing the whole Rex and Numa taking down Indal thing from the end of Xenoblade 2. And this is Noah's just using the Monado inside the Monado and just cuts the clock straight in half. This red jelly stuff looks familiar, but I don't remember what it's from. This is just definitely something that's been in a Xeno game before. I just don't remember which one. And if you look at the amount of light left in the clock, it's clear that they did this after defeating or somehow fending off the Vigent Moebius guy that was just on screen before, because this appears to be the same clock and it appears to have the same amount of stuff in it. And also, based on this, it looks like whatever Noah's second form thing is going to be shown off relatively early in the game, so I don't even think it's as big a spoiler as, say, Mithra was. There's that, then we've got some Maktha.
You gave us a choice. The choice not to fight.
And they're talking about, okay, hey, we got the option to not do things. I pause this on a kind of awkward frame because you can very clearly tell that Senna's leg is clipping through her shorts there, but whatever.
And you made it true.
Is Manana standing on something? Because I had a feeling, I thought the Napon were shorter than this. And this is great. I'm gonna go back 5 seconds.
Not to fight. And you made it true.
Mio boops Noah on the forehead, and that's what causes the music to cut out, which is kind of all sorts of amazing.
That mark there. Late 10th term, eh? 3 months left. That about right?
So Mio, the reason she was older than the rest of the party members is because her plot revolves around the fact that she has 3 months left to live at the start of the game. That's kind of massive. I skipped ahead by accident again. And then what we thought was her journal folded up, it just turns out to be a mirror where she's looking at her tattoo, and this more or less confirms the grayer your tattoo is, the closer you are to death.
Late
Great reaction image right here.
10th term, eh? 3 months left.
Interesting, Van Damme knows that. If everyone who pops out and gets their tattoo at the age of 10 and dies at 20, well, that doesn't make sense with Ethel, because she clearly looks older. We saw her looking older than 10 in a big flashback to when Noah looked basically the same way he does at 10. And then Van Damme is clearly older than 20. So it's possible that either by removing your eye, because he has an eye patch over his left eye, and that could mean that he is from Agnes and removed the glowy eye, and that somehow cut him off from dying, or he was just born without the tattoo in some way and just never had to worry about that, or he found a way around it from being an Ouroboros or whatever. The fact remains, it is clearly possible to live longer, and it is sort of implied that you can steal life from people, but it doesn't look like you can actually get their lifespan added onto yours, as it seems like everyone at the end of their 10th term does die no matter what, and some people just are honored more with it than others. So maybe colony leaders or someone else, like, you can store lifespan that is taken in the clock of a big colony mech, and then that can get distributed to people as necessary.
That about right?
This seems from the first trailer.
And then I'll be gone from this world.
So yeah, Mio's just like, I am going to die soon. I'm going to try to do everything I can before then. Then this appears to be a fight between the nations, as that is clearly a Keves mech and an Agnes colony. This is probably part of the same early cutscene, because I think it's the same colony from before.
How many of you are getting made an example of and hopes rest?
That is, I believe that's P and Owl Guy. I'm frame by framing forwards instead of backwards by mistake. This big clock with the colors of both nations in it, well, first off, the thing around it looks a lot like Siren. Big deal. Second off, there is a person there, I believe. I'm gonna go back to the Japanese site for a second. I believe that is the guy who looks like Noah, who's just named question mark here. I've seen people already referring to him as N, just because he is clearly Noah, or clearly going to look exactly like Noah, but not entirely sure about that. His sword is also very similar to Noah's, although it is slightly different, and instead of an Ouroboros symbol or a Keves clock, it has the infinity symbol of all the Moebius people. We're going to talk more about him when we see him more, but yeah, we've seen both Melia and Nia in front of this clock, so it looks like this is connected to all of these guys and is like the center of the world, perhaps. So yeah, there's also a screen observing the battle here, and all of these pods, where we can see people being gestated in them. This is how the party members can be 18, despite everyone dying after 10 years. It seems like everyone is grown in a pod for the first 10 years of their life, or their first 10 years of their aging, then pop out as a 10-year-old with 10 years of tattoo time left, and then when they turn 20, they die. So that's really messed up. And while we have had artificial beings in Xeno games before, we have never had literally every character in the main party be like that, let alone be someone whose life is on a tangible, directly countable timer. Like, I know Neo was like, oh, I'm a flesh eater, I could die at any point, but we've never literally had someone be like, I can tell exactly how much time I have left to live. So my theory was that at the very least, Noah was going to be a clone or an artificial human because of the Project Noah name and being a reference to Xenogears. However, it seems like everyone is, which is really a big deal. And this also means it's extremely possible, since they're creating people in vats already, that if there's some sort of recurrence and off-seers are meant to do something specific to dead people's souls, that it is possible to do reincarnation with off-seers, do something to someone's soul, send it to the collective unconscious or whatever, and that soul gets put into a new manufactured body so someone can live again. And this also makes it a lot more possible for Melia and Nia to be clones, of course, since clearly this kind of technology exists, and we have two people who look exactly like Noah. I doubt they're going to pull identical twins. So that Noah is either like the original Noah, or a Noah from a past cycle who lost Mio and became a Moebius instead, or just a Noah who broke out of the cycle, or maybe he just made Noah a clone of himself just to see what a version of him would do in whatever situations he likes to put the world in. This person here themselves does not appear to actually be anyone significant, just a generic humanoid person. But yeah, we have not seen any Napon in here yet though, so they might still have normal lifespans. And then we've got just a massive amount of ships here. I can't even tell what nation these are from. I want to say Agnes because of the colors, but I can't be sure. And then there's the Lost Numbers are attacking. Now, I don't know what that means. It seems like the Moebius are letters, and the Agnes colonies are Greek letters, while the Keves colonies are numbers. So it's possible that there's just some set of Keves colonies that hadn't been... that had been just kind of lost to the rest of the nation, and people didn't know what happened to them. They just disappeared, and maybe everyone thought they'd been completely destroyed, or everyone died or something. And then they happened to show up here in some big climactic thing to turn the war in Keves's favor, which, I mean, I don't know. If we go back to... Go back to the big clock in here, we could see it's half Agnes and half Keves right now, but if the balance of the war shifts in one side or another's favor, then that might get filled in different directions. So, I don't really know what the lost numbers are, but it could also just be some sort of group. And then there's this guy who appears, who's just like a little bit more heavyset kid, clearly, and wearing a Keves uniform, and appears to just be getting crushed by rubble in some sort of fight. And don't really know a lot about that. However, this guy could very well be, based on like the shape of his head and his body type, could also be the owl-looking Moebius guy. So, the guy on our left here. I think the eye color matches up, body shape matches up, head shape matches up. The owl-esque helmets would suggest Hyentia, but there's clearly no Hyentia wings there, so if we already have a second Noah kicking around with these guys, we could also have a second version of that character, or a actually survived grown-up version of that character kicking around with these people. Especially since, remember, in Xenoblade X, the Black Knight came to Lao, who survived something he should have died in, and likely made him part of his posse or whatever.
An example of and hopes rest this time. The lost numbers are attacking.
Either way, this guy is probably important to the backstory of Noah and the gang, so I think this is Noah trauma counter number 3, because childhood friend dying.
Good reason to meet with them, to bring peace.
Can't tell who's talking there. I don't think it's Noah, but it's just sort of, hey, let's try to stop the war. And then this is the Noah Mio Ouroboros fighting this Keves mech, except the interesting thing about it is its clock isn't blue, it's purple, which is an Ouroboros-esque color. And I think it's wielding 2 swords, so this is probably Ethel in there.
And to set the world to rights.
Alright, so set the world to rights. Again, is kind of generic lines. We have Noah diving in Iron Man mode again. Looks like he can actually make some sort of pulse, which is weird because that's a very Agnes-colored pulse. It's not the blue of Keves, it's kind of yellow-green. Then we can see the party fighting someone with a blade weapon. Ducking under lands, just kind of kicking his weapon out of the way. And all that. This character, I want to say... Get back to her. Yeah, you look Agnian, because the light on your weapons is the right color for that. And I can see what might be a core crystal here. That is a shape and little filigree around it where, yeah, it could be a pendant, but That could also very easily be a core crystal that some rare blade would have. Then we've got Alex Dudley 3, so we have Dudley, Machias, and this guy, and then another guy. I'm guessing these guys are twins because they have scars over the opposite eyes, or they could be one Agnes, one Keves, and they got the scar over the respective eye from that.
We have good reason to meet with them, to bring peace, and to set the world to rights.
But take a look around. Think about how many lives it's cost.
So I'm not sure what these people are trying to say specifically. It might just be, hey, open up your eyes to this thing, stop the fighting or whatever. But that's clearly that girl's voice speaking there, just because she's on screen.
Think about how many lives
And obviously, this is a voice we haven't heard before, but
it's cost.
I don't know anything extra about this character. Then we have Lance Senna Ouroboros fighting what appears to be another Moebius monster. And can't see the actual infinity symbol on this. And the character has 4 eyes, so that's a thing. I'm guessing this is a Moebius. It looks slightly different than Wild Rider, the Vigent one. It could just be a big monster. Like, it is a dragon, I think. But it could be a dragon possessed by someone or a dragon transformed from someone. And then we've got a Keves thing firing a laser. And then we can cut to Ethel. Also, that's purple, not the normal Keves color. And then Ethel looking away from something. And we can see she's in the room with all the pods when that happens. So she might have been shown the truth of the world and not like what's going on here either now. And she could become an ally.
Think about how many lives it's cost. Annihilator is not moving.
I have no idea what that line is.
This is bad, Noah.
And that's Riku's voice, which is just amazing. Riku joins Xenoblade 2 Bana and Papunin for obscenely deep voice Napon characters.
Now, Annihilator is not moving. Think about how
I'm gonna see if auto caption helps.
Annihilator is not moving.
Annihilated something started moving. Okay, can't really tell.
This is bad, Noah.
Now I want to live.
Alright, so this is now something happens and Mio has decided she doesn't want to just die after 3 months happen and find a way out of everything. This is a scene we've seen before as well.
To live and learn.
Noah and Mio are using each other's flutes here.
So don't give up yet. This will buy you some extra time.
Alright, so don't give up yet. This will buy you some extra time off of Senna, which isn't a good sounding thing. We can also see this creature. This is an Ouroboros. This isn't a Moebius. Hold on a minute. I was just like, oh, this is a different transformed person. Also, again, this looks like Senna running through the pod room. So, let's see. Cuts from Mio to that. She's dodging a blast, carrying her hammer, running up to... Can't really tell. It doesn't look like there's any person there that she's running at. Just maybe running away from something. This is very clearly the pod room, so that's a big deal. And then we've got one of the white Ouroboros forms. This is Mio's version. We'll talk about these later. But if you look very closely at this creature, this is an Ouroboros. That's, I think that's the Ouroboros symbol, and not the symbol of the, yeah, if we look right here, where it's slightly more in detail, that's the symbol on the Ouroboros cores. That's not the symbol on any of the Moebius, because that has an infinity in it. This is an and also, like, I mean, it does have the face of a Moebius, but I really think this might be another Ouroboros. This might be the Ethel Kamaravi one that we've been theorizing about.
Use it.
Okay, so you have Senna and Ouroboros fusion cutscene, crying, talking about giving time so someone could use it.
This. I don't want any of your time.
And then Mio saying she doesn't want that, which, oh, there are several Senna death flags in this entire thing, and this is probably the biggest one, because it looks like she's actively trying to give some of her time to keep Mio alive. Then we have Tyon Uni Ouroboros fighting Noah and Mio in front of an Agnes colony, and I think these are just generic people here.
I will end it.
So that's kind of weird that we do have intra-party conflicts. This could be a training exercise or something that they're just intercutting into for suspense, but this could also be the party actually splitting ways and taking different sides in this fight.
There are lives here.
Alright. So most of these are just generic, but we got a very angry Noah with bloody knuckles. So did he just literally beat someone to death? Or is that the blood of someone who he just, like, had to console in their dying moments? I don't know, but this game having more blood in it is sort of terrifying for the implications of that, because we already know a lot of people are going to die in this. This just means that there's probably going to be even more.
There are our lives here! They're not some toys you can just play with!
Yeah, so that's just Mio popping off against the bad guys. That's something we've seen a lot before. It looks like... Is this Mac the Wildwood or a Keves colony? I'm not actually sure. And then this is another Moebius-looking creature. This is one we haven't seen before. Can't see the core on it, so I can't see if it has the Ouroboros one. But based on the face, this looks more like a Moebius.
They're not some toys you can just play with!
So it looks like the consoles are at least part of the real enemy. Yes, I know, it's been 35 minutes and it just got through the beginning.
It is fate. Many have tried, but none have ever managed to escape its flow.
Okay, this is the big deal. We can see, because it doesn't say not actual gameplay footage in this part, like it did at the beginning, which means this is an actual in-game cutscene, which means we have this guy who I don't think we've seen before, this person who I don't think we've seen before, and has like a triple frill thing on their helmet, the Emperor guy from before, and fake Noah talking about fate while watching cutscenes from the game on the theater. So again, I think this theater is outside Ionios somehow, and fake Noah and the consoles are just manipulating things, going back into the world to do stuff, and seeing to see if it's impossible to escape, like, your actual destiny. Like, everything Shulk and Rex did was actually for nothing, because every time that happens in a universe, it just comes back to Ionios, which is just a never-ending cycle of war, and presumably the party members are going to break out of this somehow, and carry on the legacy of Shulk and Rex.
But none have ever managed to escape its flow.
And then again, he has the infinity symbol in his eye, which is representative of the bad guys in this game.
What is it they need to stay alive? Water? Food? Certainly. But what we need most is life itself.
This is just an extended version of the first trailer.
Taking each other's lives.
That's body horror of the highest degree, and I'm here for it.
With the taken flames becoming your own in turn.
That's the thing. He says the taken flames become your own in turn, and we can see stuff from the Dead Agnes people filling up this Keves mech clock. However, it still seems like you have 10 years left to live no matter what, so I'm thinking that maybe the colony leaders can take time. Like, if you kill someone, their time goes into the colony clock, and people in charge of colonies can disperse time from that clock into other people to extend their lives if they're needed.
This is the world of Ionios.
Yeah, and I think
Of Keves
that Keves, this is the same fight we've seen before that Keves wins, so it makes sense Agnes is taking the losses.
Contrast to its natural splendor. All this killing for
Got
the
a lot of people
sake
dying. Interesting how... I think this might be a Machina who just had darker skin and already turned into that, but it's really weird how the Keves person turns gray, while the Agnes person is much lighter colored.
stand clock. All this killing for the sake of filling one's own flame clock.
Then we can see an Agnes colony getting filled. And again, it says filling one's own flame clock, which I don't get because you still have the 10-year time limit. Then there's a console standing on top of this colony, so yeah. I think that's someone we've seen before, but it's not one of the two named people.
From the moment of birth, fighting is all the people.
Yeah, and then we see, obviously, child soldiers, and we have a young Noah, Lance, Uni. These all look to be generic models, but then there's this guy again, and we can see that he was a kid at the same time as the rest of the party members, so the scene of him getting crushed was clearly in a flashback, which means he can grow up to be the owl guy from the consoles.
Of Ionios.
And it also looks like these boots are going forward instead of back again, because I'm very smart.
Fighting is
Yeah, you've got these boots coming down. This is either people jumping, like just coming out of a transport in order to fight, or since we've seen people grown in pods already, this could be a shipment of newborn, basically, which I'm assuming they're going to come out as actual 10-year-olds, because we were given 18 and 19 ages for all of the party members, so I'm guessing, like, it's not just they're equivalent to 18 and 19. It's when you start out, you are literally the equivalent of a 10-year-old and then spend the next 10 years growing like you normally grow.
Is all the people of Ionios learn their fate.
And then we see this basically confirms as you age, your tattoo gets less red because you can see Lenz's is almost completely red here.
Their fate leads to everyone's
And just keep
destruction.
training. There's Mio over there. I think the rest of these people here are generic. I don't see Senna. And Mio's a year older, so she probably trained with different people.
Lifespans are a mere 10 years.
Also, you'll notice young Uni's chest is covered, so you don't need to have your tattoo exposed all the time, which is interesting.
Surviving on the
This is a scene from the first trailer, but we now know this person talking to Melia was a consul.
battlefield, fulfilling that 10-year lifespan of service, and receiving a homecoming ceremony in front of their queen is the highest honor.
So if you do really good, you get to get killed in front of Melia or Nia and praised or something, which is really a big deal. And we can clearly see the tattoo is completely spent. So let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pips, the center square, 1, 2, 3, 4, that, and then 4 lines. So I don't know how they're going to divvy all this up, but I believe we've seen Mio with just the center dot there. So yeah, I'm guessing the lines might be when the nearby square is filled, those will also be filled. And it just goes, you lose 1 outer square, then you lose all the outer squares and use the dot, and that is 10, because got 5 and then 5 squares.
The highest honor.
And there's also another console in the background there, so they are everywhere. And we can see, this is probably the capital of Keves, because Melia's there, even though it doesn't look like Alchemoth. And hold on, let's go back again.
Of their 10 years.
Because we saw some
Surviving on the
off-seers.
fulfilling that 10-year lifespan of service, and receiving a homecoming ceremony in...
Yeah, so we got... all these flutes are the same, but they are less ornate than Noah's, so Noah might actually be a special boy. And we could see here Machina, and then I think 3 Homs, and we have the person who looks like a descendant of Shulk over here, and we can see that their tattoo is partially red. Can't see anyone else's tattoos, but I'm guessing for every non-significant character, it's just going to be, oh, their tattoo's under their clothes somewhere, so we don't have to model an extra thing.
In front of their queen is the highest honor.
And then again, yeah, Melia's here, but it's not Alchemoth.
However, many never receive
And then
this honor.
everyone else
as
gets
they
off-scene.
fall in battle.
And this is very important. When Noah's off-seeing people who died in battle, particles are blue. But when someone dies naturally, the particles are gold. So that way we can tell, based on context, what's happened in other scenes. If your time runs out and you get a warm welcome from the queens, you get gold ether particles and probably preferential reincarnation, or you get free from the cycle, or something happens different from regular dying. But if you regular die, it gets blue.
Souls evaporating into the beyond.
Souls evaporating into the beyond. So, yeah, it seems like souls are a big deal. They actually go somewhere when you die and are off-scene properly, and that probably keeps you in this whole cycle of reincarnation getting put in a new body. Particles here are gold, so it seems like the party might come across someone who just dies naturally running out of time. Possibly Van Damme.
As the melody of the off-seers plays.
Although there's a combination of blue and gold ones, so I don't know. Because, like, I was thinking, oh, obviously gold for Agnes, blue for Keves, but this is a Keves person that's blue, or that's gold, and then we can see in this scene, Keves blue, so it's not nation dependent.
As the melody of
And then there's just a big shot.
Presentation.
Great Kate
we'll
Falls.
The world of the Xenoblade.
That's probably Alchemoth. It looks very, very different, but this is just, it's still shaped like Alchemoth. And you can see there's like fog, so Fog Beast probably, there's the Mechanic sword over there, so Sword March is in that direction. And there's floating islands here, so part of this is probably what's left of the Biana shoulder, especially this area here could be very Companion's Cape or Grandel E, even though it's forested now. And then all that happens, and Alchemoth is right there, because of course it is.
Chronicles 3 game, and follow the main character's adventures.
Then I get to relax a bit, because we know basically everything about these characters already, or that they're going to show.
Countless comrades have lost their lives.
thanks to this.
And you can see that there is real enmity between the parties before they come together.
Losing friend after friend. You steal everything from us.
Looks like Lions and Tyon are going to have a big argument.
3 from Kevis and 3 from Agnes were commissioned to take part in a special mission.
And that's important. These people are actually like doing a special ops thing. They didn't coincidentally run into each other. So they were probably sent to do the same thing, probably by consuls on different sides telling them to do a specific thing to further their own goals. And I'm guessing that thing is to take Van Damme out.
Both parties, filled with mutual hatred, draw their weapons at first. But when they encounter a mysterious figure, they
Yeah, so this is what makes me think Van Damme might be one of the Moebius people.
shelve their distrust and resolve to work together.
Because he's able to stun everyone with a big punch to the ground without even summoning a weapon. So either he's connected to the Moebius, he's just really strong because he's the mentor dude who's going to die. He can somehow use Ouroboros powers on his own or without fusing, or he's just gotten really strong from training or something. Or people who came from the previous world, or people who somehow found a way to get out of the cycle and lose their tattoos or something, are just inherently stronger. Everyone with tattoos whose life is on a timer is just weaker by design, and only in becoming an Ouroboros can you transcend that and become like as strong as a normal person from Allrest or Bionis would be.
Because now, kids, you share a common destiny.
I don't know if that line is what actually plays in this cutscene when he's saying that, because it looks like he's just introducing himself here or just showing up, but who knows?
They'll hunt you constantly.
They'll hunt you as probably either both nations or the consuls and the Moebius people.
Relentlessly without rest.
That's the second time Noah's gotten booped this direct.
There's one place that might give you a chance.
Then this is
March.
it's just the talking about Sword March again.
Pierced by a great sword.
And here we can see the Aerith Sea Leftheria area in extreme detail.
Our city.
He says our city when talking about Sword March, which is really interesting. It seems like the place the third faction operates out of is in Sword March somehow, and if he is meaning to betray the party, and that's actually just where the whole double clock was and all the pods are, and that's where everything comes from, then that might be a big deal, and that's the big Prison Island twist type thing. I'm guessing Sword March is going to be the Prison Island regardless, but the point remains, if there are other Ouroboros out there, if there are other people on Van Damme's side out there, then that's where we're going to find them, and it's probably going to be primarily recruiting heroes, doing good deeds, and avoiding the wrath of the nations, maybe fighting a Moebius or two, until we get to that point, which is probably going to be like level 40. And I just love everyone chilling here. Manana looks dead, like just straight up.
Defeat the real enemy and restore the world to order.
And then this is really funny because I went through this frame by frame before. I have no idea what they're trying to accomplish by this, but we can see Noah in Iron Man mode and Mio are just go foot to foot and bounce off in different directions. So I guess Mio is propelling Noah down to do some sort of attack. So this might lead to combo attacks in the game itself, but I'm not sure.
This story focuses on the
Then we can see that they're clearly going to get into the pod room and have a fight at some point because, yes, Senna was there before, but now we can see everyone, I think.
on these 6 characters.
This is what we're meant to do.
There's just little character descriptions. Don't really need to talk about much about these.
Is an off-seer's purpose.
Ready, he says.
Uni
The
just
moment I chose
being
this,
funny as always.
more than ready.
Spark you on about.
Also, apparently Spark is an in-universe swear, which is amazing. I would love it if everyone gets to use real swears except for Uni.
I'm not gonna let you take the fall alone.
I've thought about this a lot.
Then, hold on, is that a snow area? I don't think we've seen a snow area before. This could be desert. Nope, that's snow. Interesting. I would like, obviously there's probably going to be a Valak Mountain plus Tantal area, but we hadn't seen that before, so that's weird.
Thought about this a lot.
Then this appears to be an encampment instead.
About what I can achieve. What I'll leave behind.
If anything, we should be questioning all that we've thought to be true.
Maktha.
Differences are all a matter of perspective.
And he's holding a charm to his chest there, so either someone died or this is something connected to like the whole Laura charm thing, maybe. I don't know.
The truth is, she's terrified. She needs someone to tell her that everything will be alright.
And then Senna's just looking out for Mio because she thinks of her as an older sister. Then here's her crying again, and it looks like she's behind some sort of prison wall, so like, there's a weird amount of death flags for just one character.
Now fugitives of both Kevis and Agnes, these fate-defying hopefuls journey to learn the truths of their world.
Yeah, this looks like the whole Bionis knee moment from Xenoblade 1, but it's the entire party. And they're looking at the sword, which, I mean, I guess they were technically looking at the Mechanicus sword on the knee in Xenoblade 1 as well, but this is more of a whole party bonding thing rather than Shulk and Ryan being bros. Now, this scene before, they're going to be attacked by a Kevis colony, I believe. We've seen plenty of this already.
Their role is to convey the Queen's directives to the colonies, along with handling admin and decision-making.
So yeah, the consuls are a big deal in the colonies of both nations, so they're clearly some sort of third party behind things. We could see one rolling up to Ethel's colony 4, and if we look here, we could see, yeah, she's there, and a lot of people are either just very generic, less detailed NPC-looking people who are probably, like, in more civil... I'm guessing everyone's on the 10-year timer, but there obviously are people doing more civilian-y roles, and that's what these people are, then these are just masked warriors. This guy seems to be Ethel's second in command, so he's probably going to be a named character and have some sort of importance later on, like maybe we'll fight them at the same time or something.
And decision-making. Our colonies regard each other as enemies. But if the consuls giving the orders are the same, it means...
Yeah, and then...
But these guys
I'm not convinced. If this person's a guy, this person is Galgar, because Galgar is not dead.
They're mega suspicious?
Also, Senna just... These guys do be sus. They really do be like that. And this is the Kevis eye glowing with the Moebius, or the infinity symbol here, which means this is probably Hyantia.
I suspect they...
Which is super interesting, because...
But
this the Hyantia person is coming up to assert, who is an Agnes colony leader, so the consuls aren't even limited by, like, race and going to the nations from their own race.
It means...
But these guys are mega suspicious?
I suspect they may be more deeply involved than...
I think this is a conversation that takes place in Colony 9, because we'll see Colony 9 later.
we thought.
Don't think that's a new person. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna need to go back at some point and screenshot everything to, like, see how many unique console designs there are, because I think there might be more than 8, but I don't think there are more than 12. And 12 is probably gonna be the magic number for these guys. That's 12, not including the Emperor dude and the fake Noah. Or Noah 2. I'm just gonna call him Noah 2.
With the reason why we fight. With deciding our fate.
Our fate.
Alright, this is just exploration, but there's a lot of exploration-related stuff. And we got... I love this inversion. Xenoblade 2 had the cat girl clinging to the fire blade because she was cold. This time we have Mio clinging to Senna, who looks like she could be a descendant of Brigid because she's too hot in the desert. And then it's just like, hey, look, it's water. And then like, ooh, look.
Water.
Finally, cat person ear animations to rival Grahatia. And I'm so glad that it's not just going to be dour, grimdark tone the entire time. They actually remember that Xenoblade games need to have levity in them to be good stories. And I also love one of Tion's little paper dudes is just kind of floating around there.
Let's just hope it's not a mirage.
Again, we still can't see the clocks on Riku and Manana's weapons, so are Napon just immune to the whole tattoo term thing and having a limited lifespan? Because that's going to be kind of wild. Then, hey, look, this looks like Xenoblade X. Aegis Wilderness, Zem's Crossway. I don't think Zem's anything is an area in a previous game, but we'll see a lot of returning areas here. I love this whole part. This looks so Bionis shouldery. And again, looking through here, it looks like all of Ionios might be a big floating island. So I think it's Final Fantasy III, I think, where you started out on what turned out to be a floating island once you got the airship, and you realized, oh, that's just one continent, and there's the entire rest of the world out there, so I'm kind of wondering if that's the case with Ionios. Like, Ionios is this one thing that's stuck in this big loop or whatever, and all of the consoles come from outside it or something, and the rest of the world is just a normal world or something, or like the rest of the world could even be a version of Earth even. Or it's Mira. It could very easily be Mira. It'll start looking a lot more like Mira very soon.
Ionios is host to various landscapes.
It's just so weird. Some angles we can easily see the Mechanicus sword and some we can't.
All filled with
Oh look! These look like Xenoblade X enemies. There's a cave entrance.
Real geography to explore.
This is... We've seen stuff like this before. It's just Volf, some item orb. I can't tell what kind of bird enemy that is, but it is a bird enemy. It is not Finch, which makes me very sad.
And diverse wildlife.
I cannot tell. Okay. This has a little pagoda thing on it, and there's a thing below it, and it's very Agnes looking. So I want to say this is an Agnes colony, but this could be the capital of Agnes as well. Keep in mind, the capital of Keves is going to be Alchemoth because Melia is the leader. Nia doesn't really have a hometown anymore, so she can make the capital of Agnes really anywhere, and like this is her palace or whatever. And again, this is just more of the Aerith Sea Leftheria area.
To encounter.
This looks like a piece of Noctilum, so this sure is Xenoblade X.
Like the lands they inhabit.
I love some of these enemy
the
designs.
Wild creatures here reign.
Like, yeah, it does get a little crusty with these, but look at this game. This is leagues better than 2 looked, and 2 is leagues better than almost everything else on the Switch looked, and even some things on competing more powerful systems looked.
Range from docile to dangerous.
And this is so cool. I love the fact that enemies can fight each other sometimes, and you can just kind of completely dip and not have to deal with them at all, and they'll still die. I don't know why Brogs and Crustips would want to fight, but sure. As this is part of Melica Meadows' Luca's Aot. I don't know if there's any significant Luca in 1 or 2, but who knows? This looks like a Keves encampment or something, maybe? And it looks like, I guess if you see 2 groups of enemies fighting each other, you can hit ZR. Either that or that's the lore command, but I guess you could have a group lore as well, maybe? This is Great Sword's base. So it looks like this is... heart-to-heart icon says there's a camp here. I think we've seen basically the campsite that Noah is looking towards in a screenshot before. There's a level 42 unique monster here. So yeah, Great Sword's base. It looks like Sword March is in the early 40s, which I believe tracks with Prison Island enemies. I'm going to check. It might be a bit later than Prison Island. I'm just going to check what level Metal Face is when you fight him on Prison Island. I want to say he's early 40s there, because I believe the Ekka Skyrays, or like the Skyray boss is level 38. Let's see. Wiki. Where is you as a boss? Colony 9 fight. Prison Island. Yes, okay, I was right. Metal Face is 42 at Prison Island. So this is almost exactly level-wise Prison Island. There's the snow area. Okay, so Captocorn Peak and Sang Road. This doesn't sound anything like Valak or Tantal, but this looks a lot like Valak, and this looks like an enemy from Tantal, so it's going to be a combination of those two. There's the sword over there, so I'm thinking Ionios might be like a ring, sort of, around the sword, where you have the capital of Keves on one side, the capital of Agnes on the other side, and they're just kind of fighting, pushing, and going through different regions of the world and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm thinking that you're going to explore all of what everyone thinks is Ionios before you get to the sword. Also, this is a unique monster, but it doesn't have a level tag. The boy has returned.
Creatures make no secret.
So, High Mac the Wildwood, Gogol's Tree. This is the home of Immovable Gonzalez. He's a little bit later on in the game than he usually is. That's not a big deal. He is level 88 instead of level 90, though. And that might sound like a massive disappointment, but my conspiracy theory is this version of Gonzalez is going to have an awakening type move that powers him up, and that will level him up to level 90 partway through the fight.
Of their ferocious tendencies. So
then we have a level 75 unique monster, Demonic Crenular. Let's see if we can see. Yeah, okay, so it looks like the Aerith Sea, the Aerith Leftheria is literally Aerithia Sea, so it is just Aerith. And whatever Daedal Isle is, there's like a level 70 Wisp. That is wild. I don't know if you're going to go here late in the game, or if this is just a specific late game area that's one of those places that's filled with high level enemies because it's a Xenoblade game. I'm guessing, just because we saw what might be the capital of Agnes, that we are going to go here relatively early on, and this is just a high level region.
So keep caution in mind.
This is another high level enemy, and what it's like probably Mactha again. Yeah, level 95 unique monster, while the party's level 50. So Yeah, it's a Xenoblade game. They're going to throw high-level enemies at you.
You'll also encounter
And then this is so cool because
soldiers of Keves.
not only can different types of monsters fight each other, Agnes and Keves can fight each other. That is amazing. And there's even a little thing on the map for when a skirmish broke out. And also, Dana Desert is a region from Torna that should not exist at the point in time where the Xenoblade 1 and 2 universes combined. So, I've been talking about time loops for a while. Things literally from the past of Allrest are showing up here too. So, I think we can throw everything completely out of the picture. We could see areas that were destroyed by the Mechon in Xenoblade 1. We could see Torna. We could see Specia and Estum. There's literally no limit. If an area existed at any point during the history of either Bionis and Mechonis or Allrest, it can show up here. So, we could see Mechonis areas returning too.
Who continue to fight throughout the land.
Okay, so Ribby Flats is another new area. This is an Agnes colony. I think this is the one... We've seen this specific colony several times before, I think.
Colony.
Yeah, this is the one Tyon was walking towards in the first trailer, I think.
Serve as the base camp for both.
Then also, Melnath Shoulder. Gamma main approach. So yeah, this is Colony Gamma. I believe that's Isurd's colony, which means this is the one Tyon is from, so they used him walking into it, which makes sense. But Melnath Shoulder is an area from Gormott in Xenoblade 2. So that's not really a big deal. Okay, yeah, it's another returning area. This doesn't look like Gormott. So part of Gormott might have been put into a different biome, which is absolutely wild. Or it's possible that this section of the world is based on a part of Gormott that we never went to in Xenoblade 2. Because we know Gormott is massive and has way more settlements than just Torregoth. So this could be based on part of that. And that could be where this colony is from. And then also, every time you go in a colony, there's an icon for that colony's clock. Which means it's either a representation of the colony's affinity towards you or whatever. Or actually how well each colony is doing in the war matters as part of the story. And if one side of the war actually starts winning before you can stop things from happening, then you might just get some sort of non-standard game over and have to try to avert that. Or like, say Keves gets, let's just say Colony Gamma starts beating up Keves people, and this clock gets almost full. Maybe if this clock gets full, they'll just straight up win the war and completely wipe out Keves before the party can stop that from happening. So then you have to go and actually seek out and defeat more Agnes enemies to lower their clock.
Both nations.
This is Yzana Plains. I don't remember which colony this is. I don't think this is Ethel's colony, so this might be something we haven't seen. Remember, we have only seen one Keves colony leader so far, and that's Ethel, while we've seen Isurd and Kamaravi for Agnes.
Part of each colony is a Pharaonis.
And this is a finally name drop that these big mechs are called Pharaonis, which is basically Iron Giant. Japanese name is Iron Giant God. And the naming scheme is the same as Bionis and Mechonis, which were Giant God and Machine God in Japanese, so that all tracks.
Bases and devastating
I think that one's Ethel's.
of war.
No, that one's this one. So this is Colony 9. Now, I think one of the map screenshots we've seen before looks like this. I think this area was in one of the map screenshots based on this minimap, and I said, it's shaped like Colony 9 from Xenoblade 1, so the Colony 9 from the end of Xenoblade 1 might be there. This is Colony 9, but it's clearly an encampment based around a Pharaonis, and it's still shaped like the original Colony 9. I don't know how to feel about that. But again, there's the barracks, which is a rest area, which this one specifically is just talking and weight training, which is probably the expert mode thing from Definitive Edition. And also we can see this colony is only a quarter full, unlike Colony Gamma, which was half full.
Seek out these colonies to shop.
And it looks like even though you're a fugitive from both nations, it is possible to disguise yourself in some way to just go into colonies without getting immediately attacked. Alright, let's see. To see how accessories work in this game. Because it looks like we do have multiple armor slots. We can see that there's the gold and the silver Nopon coins here. So there's a hat slot, there's a hand slot, there's a neck slot, and there's a leg slot. I can't tell if these are just different icons because that's how they're named, or if there are just straight up multiple slots. There's also the fact that you could tell if a thing is equipable by a different character or not. So some things are probably going to be Keves exclusive, or Agnes exclusive, or gender locked, like things sort of were in Xenoblade 2. So let's just see if we could see what any of these other things do. Okay, so Bronze Temple Guard, we have the same rarity system from Xenoblade 2, where you have the 1 out of 3 pips and then common. Also interesting, everyone except Noah can equip this, so either he has one equipped already and you can't double up, or there is some reason that Noah can't equip it. Like, it might be a light, medium, heavy armor thing like in Xenoblade 1. Which is weird that Uni and Mio can equip heavy armor, but Noah can't, but I don't know. So, these are just basic stat boosts and cancel window things. This is usual. These are basically Xenoblade 2 accessories again. Let's just check the Pale Memory. That's weird. Nobody can equip that.
Dine.
And then, again, you can order food, you can talk. The journal thing, I don't know if the journal thing, that might just be a way to check your quest log there. So you can order food that isn't necessarily made by Manana, but I'm guessing that if you eat food, like in some Trails games, you learn that recipe and then can make it at any campsite.
All finished.
And then again, this kind of sad part about this whole thing is it looks like food is only experience, loot, money, and class experience dropped and doesn't give you actual in-battle benefits like pouch items, which is kind of lame. So hopefully all the other customization we're going to see makes up for it.
All finished.
This is very interesting because this random NPC actually knows about Sword March and how to get there, which means people have clearly been there before, but they haven't found whatever Van Dam's city is or whatever. So either that's a new thing, everyone dies when they get there, it's hidden really well, or something like that. I don't know. But the fact that people are welcome, that the party is welcome in colonies to some degree, despite being fugitives from both nations, and people know how to get to Sword March already is very interesting.
And more.
And then the affinity chart is back. Let us go. And we are highlighting Riza, who appears to be our first... Is that... Let's see. Yeah. This is the first Orion character we've seen. Looks like this person is too. But... and then this one has little horns and some crystals and stuff. This is the young Gormati person. They brought back the glasses there. This is a hero we'll see before, which is interesting. So, that is very cool. This icon, if you go back somewhere... Yeah, this icon is here. So, I don't know what that means. But some NPCs have that and some don't. I also love how the relationship between these two is meep. So maybe this person has a crush on this person? I'm not sure. Either way, we can then see we have Reza, Orion person, affiliation colony Iota. So that is another new Agnes colony. So I think we know Gamma, Delta, Lambda, Iota. So there's 4 Agnes colonies, and then we still only know 4 and 9 for Keves. Interesting. And again, we can see what term people are in. So it looks like this person's going to die soon. And if it zooms out a bit, we can see a little bit more characters. A lot of bit more characters. That's a lot. Holy. Okay, so let's see. We've got Morag 2 down here. Got a Hyantia. We got another person wearing a Morag-esque hat. And we got this person who sort of looks like Nimue. Let's see. We've got this Napon connected to a mystery person who's either someone we just haven't registered yet, or someone we've heard about but haven't actually met. Or it could be someone who is either dead or we just don't know the appearance of, or like someone who's just has a mask on so they don't get a portrait because Monolith doesn't want to make a portrait for mask on and mask off, which is understandable. So then we've got Valdi here, who's connected to a robot who we've seen him with before, which is also connected to these two Napon, and this older Machina, who Valdi probably looks up to. It's interesting because Valdi's connected to this Napon, who's connected to Alexandria, who is an Agnes hero. So either these links are only made when the heroes start to come together and join your party and things like that, or we do have Napon that are playing both sides somehow. Because you can see it's Valdi to Napon to Alexandria, and not both pointing in or both pointing out, so I'm not sure. Like, if the Napon gets things from her and gives stuff, and Valdi also interacts with him or something, I'm not sure how this works, but it's very, very interesting how heroes from both sides of the war are connected to each other, not through the party. We actually don't see the party at all here, which is really interesting. So then we could show basic profile, list search, show wanted items. So it's possible that, like, if a character has a quest that wants items delivered to them, we can see that there. And then we can also see Collectopedia card, which is good. I'm so happy the Collectopedia is back. I missed that too.
Get a glimpse of the
This is Raybell Tableland, another new region that's probably close-ish to Sword March. And Totutu, there's an Napon just there, pack animal. And here you could talk, you can weight train, you can gemcraft, and you can cook. A lot of this stuff is known already and is mostly recap.
Friends at these rest spots,
I love Uni with the T here.
founding colonies and throughout the world.
Yeah, I love just the little charm here of just a bunch of cute animations of people doing things. And Manana dancing, she's just happy to be there.
Use collected.
So Manana's menu she has 4 potential things right now. So it looks like different meals come from different places. And again, you can spend Napon coins to cook something if you just don't want to use the actual items you have or you don't have enough. So again, this one's experience and CP boost. I think CP is class points. Enemy drop boost and collectible boost. CP collectible. So yeah, kind of sad there's no actual combat bonuses, and it's just variations on CP, gold, item drops, and experience. But sure, food looks nice though. Manana is adorable. And then we got the gem crafting. So let's see, Tailwind increases agility by 1. So I'm guessing agility and defense, or agility by 10, what am I talking about? Agility and defense are going to be in the tank category, which makes sense. Looks like gems go up to level 10 this time based on the Roman numerals. And then Steel Cleaver is attack by 20, so yeah, not really a big deal here. Gems sure are gems.
Craft gems to strengthen your abilities.
Looks good to me. I think we'll find this useful.
I really hope we have to me back. This is sort of like Torna campsites again at the party, talk to each other, and I'm guessing it's going to sort of be like X, where if things happen like that, where you can learn news from talking to NPCs, and then that can turn into a new side quest or something. So it's possible that you can learn things from someone and then discuss it with your party members, and they'll figure out what to do, and that'll trigger a quest, as opposed to other quests that are probably just talking to NPCs. So it looks like these people are dressed in very Torna-esque garb with the thing around their neck. That's Mio's initial outfit. So very interesting, because that's probably what Agnes off-seers just wear. And then this person has a full tattoo, but appears to be a little bit older than the 10-year-old looking people we've seen before. And since we've seen Ethel looking much older than 10 with a mostly full tattoo, and much older than 20 with a mostly empty tattoo, it is possible that while a lot of people start at 10 or a 10 equivalent, other people do not.
And discuss information you hear about from residents.
The party talks together about Lambda's missing off-seer Shijima. And it looks like there are going to be multiple off-seers per colony, and we already saw like 5 of them with Melia seeing that person off. So some text stuff indicated that Noah and Mio were the off-seers of their nations, but that is blatantly not true now. And then this just triggers quests. So we have standard quests, and then probably character quests and story quests are going to be other things, because later on we'll see confirmation that character quests are something, so those are probably connected to the heroes or the party members and are basically going to be affinity missions.
Explore every corner of
Hi, yeah, what are you doing? I love Lenza's
these
tact.
fields as you seek out new encounters.
Doran, Raybell Tableland, and Forerunner's Tower. It looks like, I don't know what this icon is for. It could just be because this is the unexplored area. Skip travel icon, and this is grayed out, so it's not a skip travel thing. I don't know what that actually stands for, but oh yeah. Okay, Ionios is absolutely a floating island. Look at this right here. The entire thing is floating, because we can see all of Aegis Wilderness. There's the Dana Desert over there. A lot of this is probably Raybell Tableland, but I'm guessing that this goes into Milik Meadows somewhere around here, and like Makthat and Great Kate are in this area. Sword March appears to be off in the distance here, so yeah. Everything we've seen so far is part of one big floating island in the sky. I'm guessing we're going to go to the surface at some point.
Breathtaking scenery.
Yeah, hold on, let's go back just a little. The last possible frame here. Yeah, that's the Horn of the Bionis, which we've seen next to Sword March in other places, so I think that's the head of Gormod as well. It's all in the sky, people. This is also Noctilum again. Great Kate Falls. This is Syrah Hovering Reefs. Hovering Reefs are a thing from Erith Sea, so this is probably near the Erythia area. There's a supply drop, which appears to be like, this is either stealing a care package from a colony, or this is how amiibo drops will work. It's probably both. But I would love if there's treasure chest hunting a la X again.
Valuable items.
And then Melnath's shoulder again. This looks more like Millic Meadows. So I'm guessing that Melnath's shoulder is a slightly bigger region, and it just has a colony near the edge of it. Also interesting, it's a level 59 enemy, and I cannot believe they showed a super boss in a pre-release trailer. That is insane. I love Monolith's trolling. There's also more fog here, so fog beasts are going to be in this game, I keep telling you.
And ferocious monsters.
Then this. Okay. Obliterator Centaurio. Big late game boss. Party's level 74. Probably still can't take it. Agnes Castle Barbican. And this is the big foggy area we've seen before. So it looks like this is like actually the base of Agnes, and you're going to go there at some point. It's possible that this is just weird level stuff and all that. Everyone's still in their default classes based on appearance and all that stuff. But like, obviously we're going to go to the capitals of the nations, and they're just being a super boss related to each nation's capital makes sense. Like, this is basically a small Foranus even. But yeah, the fact that they showed off the Agnes Castle here, and there are quests nearby here too, so clearly you'll be reasonably welcomed there at some point. So I don't know what's going on here. And I don't think I want to know before the game comes out, actually. Back to Dana Desert. I don't think the Duggus quicksands were like an actual area of Dana in Torna, so that's weird. And this appears to be Spiral Valley from Bionis Leg, so it looks like Bionis Leg is bleeding into both Gormott and Torna.
Enjoy the world and fulfill.
And High Mac the Wildwood. I'm guessing, because there's the other place about having to get to the Great Sword's base, that the Mac the Wildwood is basically going to have 2 levels. It looks like this is a tracking-related side quest where you're trying to follow a monster of some sort.
Your lust at your own pace.
Then it looks like Elase Highway is what the name of the Fallen Arm has become, which is weird. Then Millic Meadows Wraith's Void. This is just a cave. This also looks a lot like X. Then Orion Tunnels. This is, because we've seen Great Sword's base, Orion Tunnels are probably very close to it. And then Ruins of Cebu. I don't think Cebu is anywhere in Araya. Let me double check. Just go to Xenoblade Wiki. Check Cebu. And search that. Yeah, the only page that shows up is the just made today page for Xenoblade 3. So this is either renaming something, and this is the ruins of like Fanzamaima or Garfont or some other city in Oriya, or there are just straight up new areas in old regions, which is great. Also, this is the first time we've seen someone other than Mio rail grinding, so field skills are not character locked. Hold on, let's unmute and go back a little. That's part of a building. So this could be part of the city Vandam was talking about. And then we got boat. This is known about. Like, we knew about the boat from the first trailer, and it looks like, is that an Agnes lighthouse in there? That's interesting. And obviously, like the boats for Arithia Sea, you're probably going to get other forms of transport for other regions. Neat. But actually, what I'm going to do is go to the Japanese site and go to exploration and show one very specific thing. Because, yeah. The region around it doesn't look like it, but this looks a lot like Agnes Castle Barbican, like I keep saying. Although that looks like a Keves base too, so I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, I forget where, but one of these screenshots showed... Second one of these? Yeah, because you can fight in the water, which is actually wild. And then, hey, you can jump off of things. Wow. Yeah, so Old Cliffside Way. This is a different part of Mactha, so yeah. Not really much else to say about that. This is near where the party's going to run into Juniper based on the cutscene you've seen.
The locations
Vista of Romar. Let's see. Experience and SP. Okay, so CP is probably class rating. I don't know what SP is. It might be some sort of like affinity thing or Ouroboros related things. I'm not sure. I'll look at the Ouroboros stuff when we get there.
That are saved as landmarks that you can quickly select.
All right, so let's see. They just discovered... All right. Yeah, this is not Vista of Ronar here. This is clearly the Fallen Arm, and the Forness region contains the whole highway thing, as well as probably Aegis Wilderness and Menno Arch. See where that takes them. And Menno Arch is part of Aegis Wilderness, sort of in front of the colony. Yeah, so it looks like they warped from the Fallen Arm down to this colony, which not sure which colony that is. Let's see. So, can we see through the background? Doesn't look like we can, but again, the UI is based on what the characters themselves can see, and that's wild.
Travel to, which makes traversing this giant world more manageable.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry, I didn't... Look at these. Cursor speed, icon filter, list search, place marker, hold remove. Okay, nothing big deal there.
Giant world.
This has to be a transition for the direct, and the actual loading screen isn't that fast. Like, I also don't think the game would do that wipe. That whole wipe transition, because...
Giant world more manageable.
Yeah, we barely see... We just see the autosave. We barely see any loading. That had to have been a cut. There's no way the game looks this good and also loads that quickly. Back to Dana Desert. So it looks like if you hold down some button, probably ZL, you get character switching, you can open up the area map, you can open up your party list, you can open up the quest route and your quest log just from 2 button presses, which is really nice, which is, I think, something they stole from a Trails game.
Navigation feature. You can...
Also, Ionios is very big. It's hard to tell if this entire area is open world, like fully open world and no loading zones. It looks like it is based on this. But the fact remains that there are things over 2 kilometers apart, which is, I think, bigger than any one area in Xenoblade 2, at the very least. So, that's wild.
Set a course for your next destination.
And this makes me very happy. The follow ball is back. It's sort of a combination of the follow ball and X's little and DE's little map trail, but it's better because you can see it without having to stare at the minimap. You can actually take in the landscapes while you follow a direction.
Without fear of losing your way. There are plenty of...
Also, this music is great, but that shouldn't be a surprise.
Other features...
Changing the time, not a big deal. This sure is a Xenoblade game.
Change the time of day to encounter monsters.
There's just some Napon there again. That's a very naked Napon, actually.
Encounter monsters that only appear.
And these creatures look great, but they look a lot like X things, so X. XXX.
At specific times.
Alright, yeah, so there's Uriah over there. Don't know, this looks like an island from Erythsea, because this is obviously like the entire Erythia area. And it looks like, I can't tell if that's the horizon, but the fact that there's a cloud going right up against it suggests that's the edge of the world over there. Yeah, also it looks like we don't know if the sun's going to rise in the east and set in the west like it does on Earth, so I'm not going to bother saying that this is west based on that. And again... And no, that's not part of Orion, never mind. Alright. Hour and a half into this, halfway through the direct. Just getting into the battle section, love to see it.
Lance!
This is just an extended cutscene that was in the second trailer.
Leave it to me.
Tyon! Zena! We need you too! Understood.
I love Tyon's smugness there.
Just say when, guys.
Thanks, everyone. I'll count down from 3.
Yeah, that colony looks mostly empty, clockwise.
3, 2, 1, let's go!
Draw your weapon.
And this is just like, hey, this sort of works like a Xenoblade game. I'm gonna be able to skip over a lot of this stuff, honestly.
To attack automatically.
Because it's like, hey, auto attacks exist. Hey, arts exist. Hey, this stuff works like Xenoblade 2 did for the most part.
Some can throw.
Yeah, I'm sad that Lanza's topple art is Bull Rush and not Wild Down, though.
Opponents off balance. Inflict more damage based on where you attack from.
I don't have anything to say about a lot of this stuff. Although, yeah, it looks like Tyon's class has a lot of weather themes, because you got stormy skies, hazy figure, and then tidal wave.
Heal allies, to name a few.
You know this one by heart.
Each art is assigned
Yeah,
to a button,
really nothing to talk
making
about
them
here.
simple and easy to execute.
But I don't want to skip ahead in case a weird detail shows up.
Each character takes on a specific role during battle.
Wow, I can't believe this game, based on MMOs, works like an
Attackers
MMO.
excel at damaging enemies. Defenders block enemy.
Alright, yeah, so, okay, that's interesting. We've seen Lance plant his thing in the ground and shoot before. And it looks like that's this game's equivalent of the guard art, where Rhine and Shieldhammers had guard arts where he just kind of stood there blocking, doing nothing, and it looks like Lance at least attacks this time.
Their aggro. And healers can restore HP to keep you in
Doing Murphy. Yeah, this looks like an Agnes stronghold again, and the party's all in their 60s as well.
fighting shape. Each character playing their role effectively is a key point to battling. You can freely swap the character you can.
There we go. We finally got into battle swapping. Unfortunately, it is very, very hard to see.
Point to battling. You can freely swap the.
Alright, so it looks like when that happens, it just slows down a bit and then cuts to the other person. So you change camera to be focusing behind them as well. Slow this. Go back here and do this slowed down so I can see it in motion, but not fast.
You can freely swap.
Alright, yeah, so just hard cuts to them, which is going to be hard to get used to, and it doesn't reset their cooldowns, but it looks like there's no cooldown on swapping itself, which that's a fair trade-off, honestly. Also, this player is very bad at the game because 3 minutes and they haven't even gotten a unique monster in the level 20s down to half health. You should either be dead or over with the fight, or more than halfway over with the fight, in any other Xenoblade game. Supreme Blant. Again, this is near Erythia because that castle's up there. And wow, that's a big art. AoE Smash is a lot more powerful than most things in 2.
String together arts to activate a combo and gain an advantage. Get the enemy off balance.
And interestingly, although they never showed Smash in an earlier trailer, they show it here as the example of the combo instead of Daze. But Daze was in the earlier clip, and we've seen it before, so they're obviously both there. It does look like Agnes classes get Launch and Smash, and Kevas ones get Daze, which, very nice. I love that kind of, that little flavor.
Quite satisfying.
Okay, hold on. This is called Auxilia, and it is a Mechon. However, it is a normal enemy and doesn't even have the boss frame, so it looks like that's just a class of Kevas weapon.
You can link multiple.
And then chain attacks, they don't actually explain whatsoever. Just, you can do them. And you can, like, choose a different version, or like a different buff that happens when you end the attack. This is apparently a Guilty Gear reference, which is amazing. I don't think this is a reference. I think Senna's just cute. And then we've seen Brave Assault before. Because that was in the second trailer.
Enemies.
Yeah, so it looks like whoever starts the chain attack gives an order, and that affects the chain attack itself, or gives you a buff when it's over, and then you perform the attack in whatever order you want. And we don't see fusion arts here, because he doesn't have any. It doesn't look like he has any left side arts. But we've seen before that if you have available fusion arts, you get to use those in the chain attack, and like they're automatically fused.
Deal heaps of damage at once.
They don't actually explain how chain attacks work, and they're clearly intercutting throughout it with like skipping over putting inputs in, so don't know what any of this means. And then it looks like you do some sort of special animation at the end of it, based on whatever character started it. And then what's next? Is it? The classes are next. Not a lot to talk about here because this is the main party member classes. Although I love this. Even the class icons are diegetic. And in-universe, the characters have to unlock each other's classes, which is amazing. I love this scene so much. It looks like this isn't the same Van Damme encampment though, so I think they get cross-classing a little bit after they come together for the first time. So I think you get Ouroboros first, actually.
I've never used this kind of blade before, but all the techniques I can use with it are flashing before my eyes.
So yeah, it turns out that when Noah said that in the second trailer, it was literally about class change.
Has a class that influences how they
Everyone
battle.
just taking on their partner's outfit.
Don't know how this is even working, but cool.
The Uni really is the Rex. I don't get it, but I'm not complaining of this game.
Sword fighter.
And then this is completely skippable because,
attacker
oh wow, we've talked about these 2 weeks ago, I think, at this point.
Evade attacks and unleash power.
I want to skip this, but they're gonna show something interesting, so I don't.
Medic gunner.
I like Uni's little stance there, though. That's neat, I
Restore
guess.
allies' HP and strengthen their abilities from a position of safety.
Stormy Sky. Efficient healing.
Tactician. Disrupt enemies.
Yeah, and this explicitly says that Tactician is more of a support-based healer and isn't focused on pure healing like Uni is.
Heavy guard. Wield massive weapons to defend allies and draw enemy aggro.
Oh, hold on. They're right next to Alchemoth there. Yeah. This is just like an Agniratha version of Alchemoth. That's very interesting. I wonder what happened to the regular Alchemoth there.
Defend allies and draw enemy aggro.
Because it's shaped like Alchemoth, it looks like Alchemoth, it has the discs like Alchemoth, but it looks like Machina made it.
Ogre.
I don't know why Senna's is called Ogre, but I'm so happy it is.
Crush enemy defenses with massive power.
Hold on a minute. Yeah, Hanasa Amoni. This is a new weapon type. This isn't a type of blend. This is a completely new enemy class, which is neat because we haven't seen a lot of this in this game. It's mostly reused from 2.
Massive power. Your class
And then we can see
also be
everyone can be everyone else's class.
Allies. Spend time learning multiple classes for a well-rounded team.
Dash move is still great.
Experience earned on the battlefield increase.
And then we can see they get 30 CP and 30 EXP and 1 CP. So, yeah, all right. It looks like, okay. We still don't know if they're separated between loading zones, but it looks like there are regions that have areas that have sub-areas in them because there's like, because the Fornus region clearly has the Fallen Arm, which is Aegis Wilderness and the whatever highway, and then there are sub-areas in those and yada yada. So if you're in a different region from your set objective, it will just say that specific region and point you towards it, but I can't tell if they're separated by loading zones yet. Either way, you get Art Mastered and Rank Up. Rank is the exact same term Xenoblade X used for class levels, so that's not a surprise.
This is your class rank and lets you learn Master.
And then we can see here that, ooh, that's interesting. Okay, hold on.
Arts.
Oh, that's unfortunate. They don't click on multiple arts here, but it looks like instead of directly upgrading your arts with AP, each art gets a different boost at a different class rank instead. So instead of learning an art at rank 15, Air Slash gets stronger.
Master Arts.
And then it looks like we have seen on a Japanese screenshot that you get this third slot at level 40. So it's probably level 40 and a story event. So you start out with one slot, then you get the second after a story in level 20, and then you get the third after level 40 in some other story event. It's probably the equivalent of the third blade slot in 2.
A set of beneficial.
And then there we go, we got Master Arts. So we can see Giant Swing comes from Ogre, Dark Banner comes from Tactician, Glow Ring comes from Zephyr, and I think Wide Slash also comes from Zephyr. So as you rank up a class, you also learn Master Arts as well as learning other class arts and skills, as we'll see in a minute.
Can be added to a different class.
White Slash!
I also love how equipping an art makes you call out the art. That's just the kind of cheese I love for my Xenoblade. Also interesting, they're using the term power multiplier instead of damage ratio.
Beneficial.
And it looks like that's going to be true for both art shapes, so yeah. So that's the third term they've had for just damage.
A set of beneficial arcs that can be added to a different class.
White Slash!
So yeah, the Master Arts are just in one big list, so you're not limited by role or by class. You can, once you have 3 Master Arts slots, you can literally use arts from 3 other classes you have leveled.
With
You can
Master
see here, Mysterious Raider, that appears to be a story boss, and this appears to be Mactha. And we can see, so look, you will get Valdi before Mactha, because that's clearly his weapon that's being pulled out. And you can also see that for HP under half, you get a yellow bar. For HP under probably a quarter, you get a red bar. And when you have a dot debuff on you, you have a purple bar. Love this quality of life. Alright, then Mant Ori's, this looks, okay, interesting. It's Keves Light, Agnes color scheme. However, this is in a Valak-esque area and could be a Valak Hyentia ruin or something. Like Ase Tower. It's not Ase Tower, but it could sort of be a similar type thing to it. And then we could see, okay, Dark Banner and Overfall. Those both come from Tyon, so that's not a big deal. And we have Uni being controlled using Lanza's class. Then we have Minecraft The Way Home over here.
The more arts and combat strategies,
And when Uni does Minecraft The Way Home,
the easier it'll be to blaze through battles.
eventually, yeah, she pulls out these fans. And I don't know what Burst does. Burst might just be another, like, out-of-combo version of Launch. Or, like, there's part of another combo. Because, I don't know, let's see. Does she go from... The enemy goes from Daze to Burst. So what I'm thinking... But it's an Agnes art. So I was thinking, oh, Burst is now the equivalent of Smash for Daze for the Keves side. So they have a 4-step combo too, but it comes after. So maybe Burst is a thing that both sides get access to and can be used out of Daze/Launch. And it does something extra, which I don't know what Burst does. It's impossible to tell from here. But there's a new driver combo-esque thing here. And Uni pulls out Agnes fans. So we're going to have to pay attention to all the heroes they show here and try and figure out whose fans these are. You might immediately jump to Mikhail because Agnes fans, but these don't look like his blade weapon. So these could potentially not be him. Or he could be alive. I'd be okay with both. And yeah, these are arts we've seen before.
Also,
it looks like Darbus is another new enemy class.
by combining compatible arts,
And
you
fusion
can
arts are
unleash
wild
fusion
because
art attacks
they
that-
put a regular art and master art on cooldown at the same time, but they use the animation of the regular art while the effects of both happen. So you can put evade on a longer animation art, or you can put a longer animation art and tie it to a shorter one so you can do things faster, which is absolutely wild.
combine the effects of
You could even put two fields on top of each other at once. Yeah, and obviously he calls out the name of the main art, not the master art. Alright, and then heroes join in the fray. It looks like we just got the Napon. These are all characters that we've seen. No. This character, I think, is just a picture of someone who does not get introduced in this direct, which is really interesting.
Live fiercely, die spectacularly. That's how I want the battlefield of my life to be.
Alright, so she looks like Charla, she sounds like Charla. She could be a descendant of Charla and Ryan, because she's a Keves tank character, and uses Crow's weapon from Trails of Cold Steel. Don't really know how else to put it. That is Crow's weapon. Can't see her tattoo. She also looks like she could be a bit older than 20, so again, I have no idea how the dying thing works.
So I want the battlefield of my life to be. It's just that
Valdi we knew about already.
You can't start getting moody just because something's broken.
But I love Valdi because he's clearly Shulk too, except that he wears has the Rex pants. But the way he says, just the way he says broken is exactly like how Shulk does in the first scene, where it's broken in M69, yo. It just sounds so much like Shulk. So like, while he isn't related to Shulk because he's a Machina, and I doubt he's a reincarnation of Shulk, I love just how the little things that tie him to past characters are there.
Now we see real Nopon potential.
I love Riku's voice. I love Riku's voice. I love Riku's voice. Nothing else to say about these two. And Fiona is a new character. It looks like this Oni race is just like an actual new race. Like, these are people from Agnes that are a race we've never seen in Xenoblade 2. we do finally get to see Indoline here. So we have humanoids of all sort of skin tones. We saw Orions on the affinity chart, and we saw Indoline and Gormati, and Napon, obviously. So those are like all the big races from Allrest. But it looks like there's a whole new Allrestian race. My first thought was, oh, she's a Blade, and she's just sort of similar to Electra, because she has the same Japanese symbol on a pack she carries with her. But we saw the affinity chart, and we saw a bunch of people with these horns, and we saw Nimue as well, who has them in the second trailer. So, like, unless these are all blades that look the same, or are all cloned from a blade like Electra, they invented a new Allrest race, probably from a Titan we never saw in Xenoblade 2, for Agnes, and that's awesome. And I don't think she's a Blade.
I just wish I wasn't such a weakling.
Because she has, like, I think, a Scottish accent, so she's not likely a Blade. And even though her name sounds sort of like Fiora, she's clearly not Karina Reeves.
I can't run away from my responsibility.
Actually, no. It's definitely got a Celtic flair. I'm thinking she might be Irish and not Scottish, because I believe people confirmed that Nimue was literally voiced by an Irish person. So this new Oni race might just be Irish, because they didn't use... It's an accent from the British Isles that they did not use in Xenoblade 2, so if they invented a new Agnes race, that makes sense.
Doing the same as everyone around you, it's always the same outcome. Following the playbook to the letter is hardly a strategy.
Alright, Alexandria definitely sounds like a British person trying to do an American accent, so she's probably a Blade. And her weapon is very similar to... Also, I believe we saw this Gormati kid on the affinity chart somewhere, probably connected to Alexandria now that I think of it, because she was there too. And then, let's see. Her weapon looks a lot like the Big Bang Edge. We'll see later on that it can extend into a whip sword, sort of like Bridget's, but it's also a lot like Zeke's, which is super cool. I believe she's an attacker. I'm also going to leave it on this frame for no particular reason for a few seconds. Like, comment, and subscribe if you know what I'm doing here.
Doing the same as everyone around you, it's always the same outcome.
And hold on a minute. Is that... No, that's just Noah. Never mind. I was like, oh, is that a console next to her? Because I saw red, but no, it's just Noah.
It's always the same outcome.
I can't tell if it's just because she has painted nails and no one in the series actually has that, or if her hands are actually abnormally large compared to other characters. Because if her hands are weirdly large, that makes me think Blade as well. And she even has like a little ethery tiara thing on her head that makes her sort of look like a Brona.
Outcome. Following the playbook to the letter is hardly a strategy.
Whoever goes up against me, they're getting crushed.
Then we have Gray. Gray is a Keves attacker. And he's got an eye patch on his right eye, which is interesting. He looks way too old to be 20, so he probably took out his eye to remove his clock as well. And he looks a lot like Yelv from X. People are pointing that out. So if this is an X prequel, this is where Eleonora got the idea to make Yelv from, probably. He's also got dual guns like Menoth and Billy and Junior. And then we've seen Juniper before. And then there's... Hold on a minute. First off, unmute. Alright, so this person is just like, oh yeah. Kind of gothic Lolita type fashion. And clearly a Machina, so obviously this is a character from Keves. But her lights are not Keves colored, they're purple. She has things in her hair. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that looks like Poppy's artificial ether furnace thing, so this might be an artificial Blade and not a Keves character. I think it's a Machina. And she's in the hero section, so she'll clearly be a party member. But if this is actually an artificial Blade, this might be where the fans come from.
Residents of Ionios called heroes
and there's Xeon.
Can land
seen
their
before. And then there's this Indoline guy, so I'm happy that enough Indoline survived to show up in Ionios. Honestly, like that's a big win for Amalthus's people, even if he was kind of a bad person. So this guy could also obviously be where the fans come from, because he's an Agnes hero who we don't see the weapon of.
Their arms and aptitude to your team.
And there's more Fiona, and see she has this symbol. I forget what this is called, but Electra has that on her too, which made me think that she's connected to Electra. But I think she's actually just a straight up new race.
As a seventh part.
And there's more Valdi. There's more Gray. Yeah, Gray. We'll see later on. We get confirmation that he plays like a Keves character. However, his class name is an X reference, and he has an eye patch like Van Damme does. So he might be a Keves deserter that's part of Van Damme's group and joins you once you get there. Like, he might be the guy who guards the city, and you have to convince him that you're, okay, we're Ouroboros, we're good people, we're on your side, Van Damme sent us, and then he'll join you. But then again, we have him here at level 28, and I would be very surprised if you can't level down. But that's kind of weird. It's also got a drone weapon here too, which is probably adapted from Fiora's. And then Testudo, just a kind of generic Agnes enemy. We've seen that Awakened is a status, so I believe that this is the Awakened icon. Then Ashera there, we have her as a tank. She's not being controlled though.
Only one hero
She's right there.
at a time can assist on the battlefield.
I love how they censored someone out. It's impossible to tell based on the colors. There's a little reddish here, so I'm thinking that this person's an attacker, but I can't tell for sure. And they're early on. Rico and Manana are probably the first heroes you get, which is interesting that they're not first there. And we figured that Valdi and Xeon would come early. But it's super interesting that not only do we have just 10 heroes here, but only one of them is considered spoiler. Because it's the Interlinked guy. And then these people are all ones we know about. And it looks like every hero character has a title that describes who they are. And that basically confirms that we're going to get colony leaders like Ethel, Kamaravi, and Asserd as heroes in some way, because before this, the only titles we knew about were Silvercoat, Ethel, and Smoldering Kamaravi. Meanwhile, we have Peerless Rico and Manana, Dunban reference, Ashenpelt Gray, and I think and Ghost Bow Juniper. So it's not just important people that have titles, it's everyone. Let's see. Yeah. So we've also got all of their class names. We knew Rico and Manana's were Yumsmith to begin with. And then Gray gets Full Metal Jaguar, which is Elma's class from X if you didn't know, so he's probably going to get Ghostwalker related stuff.
You can swap them out.
Then Ghost Bow Juniper, who is an Agnes attacker, who is the Stalker class, which is slightly disappointing compared to Phantom Archer, but what are we going to do? Then Undying Blade Ashera, Lone Exile, so I'm guessing she's not from a colony or anything, which is probably why she'll join up with you without fighting. And then we can see each class is rated in terms of attack, defense, healing, and just support or battlefield control. So obviously the tank is going to be good at just straight attack and defense. And let's see, yeah. Juniper, archers are always like debuffy DPS classes, so it makes sense that she's got a high tactical rating. Then Gray is kind of objectively worse Juniper, apparently, but he's probably got less support arts, but they're better. And then the Napon are, yeah. They don't have actual blade weapons, so them being a DPS that's just like really good at battlefield control makes a lot of sense.
But you can swap them out as you see fit. Heroes also bring their own classes to your team. Guardian
so then
Commander.
it's like, hey,
Turn the
Xeon is a tank.
abilities when things look dire. Incursor. Unleash more critical hits for higher attack power.
Yeah, this class is going to be busted. I already know what the 3 meta classes week 1 are going to be. Or probably 4. Because Noah, some Japanese thing said that Noah's class is good against bosses and unique monsters, which means it probably gets skills that do extra damage against them. Then Xeon says his is good against tougher opponents, like higher level ones probably, which means if you can lower your level like in DE, bada bing bada boom, then crits are always broken in Xenoblade games, and Alexandria's Incursor class is good at crits, and then Uni's Medic Gunner has a puddle that increases attack power, so that's probably all you're going to need week 1.
War Medic. Heal party members and bolster them with various
and
buffs.
then Valdi has a gun, but is mostly a healer because, of course. And then I love this. This has spoilers, but I love this so much. The chibis are actually a thing here, and you can look through everyone's classes, and you can see, okay, this is a Keves class. That's an attacker because of the color of the icon, and that's neat. And if you look here, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 21, 22, 23 classes in the game confirmed at launch pre-DLC, with space for 28. Now, it's a little hard to see things, but let's just look here. So the first 6 are Noah, Mio, Uni, Tyon, Lance, Senna. This one is locked because you can see the locked icon. Valdi, Xeon, Indeline dude, who appears to have some sort of healing staff. Also, this is extremely funny. Then the Napon, where Manana is just happy and Riku is just maximum no talk me I'm Angie mode. Interestingly, despite it being a Keves character and an Agnes character, they count as Keves. Then here we can see Gray. Here is a locked icon. Here's just another lock. And then here is Juniper. Then we have Ashera, Alexandria, Locke, Fiona, Locke, something. Good news and bad news is, good news is, I don't think we've seen this character before. I can't tell what the silhouettes for any of these 5 characters are, so I have no idea about them. Bad news is, this is very clearly Kamaravi, and this is very clearly a Moebius or an Ouroboros. So, I don't know how to feel about that. They very clearly spoil that we're going to get some enemy classes. Now, if this confirms that... This does not confirm whatsoever that these characters are going to become heroes, though. Because we could still do Bravely Default and steal classes from bosses we defeat. This character is probably an ally, because they're just in between Alexandria and Fiona. And it looks like, yeah, they're not limited to Keves Agnes. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3 Keves attackers. 1, 2, 3 Agnes attackers. Only one only one Agnes tank. 1, 2, 3 Keves tanks. 1, 2 Keves healers. 3 Agnes healers. And then 1, 2, 3 Agnes attackers. Kamaravi's probably going to be an Agnes attacker. And it's impossible to tell what these characters are. Some of them might be heroes, some of them might be other colony leaders. I'm guessing that if we get Kamaravi, we're also getting Ethel and Desert. Ethel is probably an attacker, Kamaravi's probably an attacker or a tank. This person, I'm not sure. Probably a tank just to balance things out. Anyway, I'm getting super off track here. The point is, we are going to get classes from enemies confirmed, but this does not confirm that they're going to be heroes necessarily. They might still be enemies, and we just connect with them in some way by defeating them in the story, and that gains us their class. Most importantly, though, we can see that these classes get little blurbs. We can see what rank you're currently at. This is S, so either once you hit level 10 in a class, you just count as being rank S in it, or each of these 6 party members has affinities with certain classes, and the better you are, the better stat boosts you get from them. Then we could see Master Skills and Master Arts. So, Ground Beat, Shadow Eye, Overclock Buster, Cypher Edge, Covert Attack. This is super interesting, and basically confirms X-like skills. So each class will learn skills as you rank up, or you just start with a bunch of skills, and you'll learn arts as you rank up, and the arts will be enhanced the higher rank you get. At certain class ranks, you gain the ability to transfer those skills and arts over to other character or other classes. So there are 5 arts per class, which we already saw before in the menu, and only 2 of them are available as master arts by level 10. So it looks like, based on that, it looks like only 2 arts per class will be available to other classes, and they're not necessarily the big bread and butter ones, which is extra interesting. Like Ground Beat and Shadow Eye aren't super important ones. Like they're not Noah's backslash equivalent. And then since we also have 2 master skills, I'm guessing that each class will also learn 5 skills. And most importantly, the level 20 master art, I didn't count that as one of the 5 because that's the talent art. If you fully max out a class, you can use even its talent art in another class, which is absolutely insane. And then we can see just how substantial stat changes are. Healing power over quadruples. and other stats get significantly decreased here. And then we can see there's a B here, so Noah is not as good here. I'm guessing that basically each character is going to have separate base stats that, like, they'll have base stats before getting altered by changing into any class, and those base stats determine each character's affinity with each other class type. So we got there's War Medic. Noah isn't as good at it because he probably has low ether. War Medic is basically just good at healing and support. And you get one Master Art just by unlocking a class.
These are only a handful of...
Hold on, we need to go back here because Noah's outfit here, it's basically Noah and Rex's outfit. Great.
These are only a handful.
And Guardian Commander, Noah is really good at, despite starting out as a DPS class, which is very interesting. It's probably just a physical ether-based thing instead.
Handful of classes that heroes bring. Your party members can take on
There's Noah
any...
using Xeon's class, and this is very interesting because Deflector Field is probably going to have a long animation, but then it boosts some of your other arts here.
Of the hero classes as they become your allies. Recruit more heroes.
And then there's Mio and Juniper's class.
Of classes and arts in your party.
Again, leveling down is a thing, so this doesn't tell us anything, but it looks like you might have access to Juniper's abilities at level 35, suggesting that, again, everything we've seen is pre-level 40. Then that is everyone in Fiona's outfit in a cutscene.
To don a class's look, or keep your current outfit.
And then they did it. The absolute madmen did it. They did 6 Noahs. After all of the Japanese things mistranslated the group of Noah and his 5 allies, which makes 6, to 6 Noahs, they actually just had everyone in Noah's outfit. I love this so much. I don't even know if this was intentional or if it was in the Japanese version. And then, let's see, was there... Alright, hold on. Before we go into Ouroboros, they already mentioned that basically fashion gear is a thing, and you can choose whatever look you want, whatever class you're in. But I want to see, I thought I saw a screenshot of a menu changing outfits somewhere. But that doesn't look to be the case. Okay, Ouroboros. 2 hours in, we can do this. Again, this is Wild Ride.
What is that thing?
This is no normal creature.
They're just destroying a soldier from both nations.
Real death wish.
Attacking the party. Then this is super interesting what happens here, because we knew the party members were going to defend each other against Wild Ride before even fusing.
Just slowing me down.
But Van Damme's got this Machino thing. And before he's about to kill Noah and Mio, he activates this. And that actually, it doesn't just astral project Noah and Mio, it astral projects himself somehow. And this is what causes them to fuse for the first time. So, apparently Van Damme's people actually figured out what causes fusion and created some sort of machine to serve as a fusion catalyst. Absolutely bonkers.
I felt her thoughts.
And this is a whole memory sequences that we've seen before, and now we know why we didn't see them as babies. There's Mio playing. That's a different Agnes off-seer here. Same outfit, but probably someone who's died before. Looks like a younger Mio playing, maybe. There's a lot of Senna, because obviously they're sisters. Now, someone, I think, said that they saw hand-holding in one of Mio's memories, but that might have been in the other trailer, not this one. Yeah, because we're moving into Noah's now. Yeah, there's the green-haired guy. There's somebody. I have no idea who this is. Looks like this might be Mio herself, and she's just watching Noah's recent memory of seeing her. Then that's the Keves off-seer that we've been seeing before. Yeah, okay, yeah, it looks like everything on this side of the screen is Mio's memories, because there's Senna again. Everything on the side is Noah's. Or they're just mixed together, because that's Lance. I don't know.
And then they were a part of me.
There we go, there they fuse. They make Veltal!
Battle through interlinking.
And Wild Ride gets a tree knocked on him.
2 characters in your party can fuse.
And again, not entirely sure. Are Noah and Mio the only people who fuse at this point, or does everyone learn it during this battle or later on? Not sure, but we've seen at least Noah and Mio able to interlink by level 15, so this is clearly incredibly early on in the game, like first 3 hours early.
Into a fiercely powerful form known as an Ouroboros.
This is all cutscene stuff we've seen before.
Here are the character pairs.
This is stuff we know already. This is stuff we know already. This is stuff we know already.
Transform into this fearsome fusion by interlinking.
I love those cut-ins again. And it looks like the way Ouroboros works is you have long animations on your arts. However, they never go on cooldown. You can just spam arts as much as you'd like until your meter runs out.
By using mighty Ouroboros arts before time is up and the interlink deactivates.
It looks like, I think I've seen all these arts before. I think you can also only use one Ouroboros at a time, but you can switch onto and off of them like normal in battle switching. Yes, and using that, and the Ouroboros immediately runs out. And it literally says overheated here.
Those guys are so selfish. Selfish how? You know what I mean. Every time we interlink, they're the ones taking the lead. So you'd prefer to take the reins? I just want to do more.
And this is the new thing where we got secondary Ouroboros, where they're fusions, but one person is in control of the body, and the fusion form is based more on that. So there are 2 pairs, but 2 options per pair for a total of 6. And then we've seen Noah and Mio standing down against this colony before, and I think Uni tackles Tyon out of the way, so it looks like while all that stuff's going on, this is the first time Senna takes control of her form.
Despite being a single body, the
really a lot in the memories there. And then this form, this is Cressons, a mech from Xenogears. Look that up. It is literally Cressons. The wing hands are a thing from Cressons.
Swap between them.
And even cooler,
to modify the
you can swap between Ouroboros forms at will once you've fused. And it literally changes from Lens and Senna with a blue background to Senna and Lens with a gold background. If you look here, there's an Ouroboros facing that direction. That's gold. Okay, no, never mind. Ouroboros is facing the same direction, but that changes size too. And let's see, what else? Okay, yeah. Total number of arts available per character, or at once. We now have 6 characters. Each character has 3 regular arts, 3 master arts, and 1 talent art. So that is 7 arts per character. Then we have 6 Ouroboros with 3 arts and another talent art. So that is 7 plus 4, that is 11 times 6, 60, assuming master arts never overlap and everyone's at a different main class. 66 arts available at a time. This is madness, and I love it.
The form
and then, let's see, yeah. Again, it looks like all of the Ouroboros arts are absolutely incredibly powerful. I also love how they had to abbreviate knockback because it didn't fit otherwise. But the most powerful effects seem to come from raising your interlink level, which I don't know how you do that, probably by staying in Ouroboros form longer and not overheating. But launch all, like, that's heavenly disrupt levels of busted.
Arts of the Ouroboros to fit your approach.
Oh, that's super cool. Hold on a minute. I just realized. Yeah, it only pulls out the hammer for using that one art. But otherwise, it's using its braid as a whip, and it has blue fire on it, which just raises the Senna-Bridget connection theory even more. And then, there we go. This is what SP is for upgrading your Ouroboros. So, it looks like... Don't know how this works, but it's sort of like a sphere grid thing. I hope you can't hear that car going by, because that's playing music and might be enough to get this video copyright claimed. Anyway, so you have all of these different abilities that can unlock connected to each other. This is probably a gauge thing. And this is... So the eye is a straight stat buff. These are probably art upgrades, and you might get 5 arts per Ouroboros. Then it looks... I don't know what the green things here mean. these are probably gauge-related things where it increases your gauge timer or the rate at which you gain interlink level. Then it seems like these are all passive abilities, and you can equip 2 passive abilities per Ouroboros. So, obscene amounts of customization on top of the regular character customization, which is already X tier. And by X tier, I mean X is protagonist tier for every character.
Earn points in battle to...
Wait, hold on a minute. Yeah, increases crit rate. And they moused over this one, so... Okay, learn skill. Yeah, looks like you could only have a couple skills equipped at a time. But it looks like these are like basically blade skill type things. So you have X class swapping for the characters, and then you basically have 2 affinity charts for the Ouroboros.
Battle to make the already...
And then, yeah, this one is just something I wish Charlotte had.
Powerful Ouroboros.
Okay, so yeah, this is learning arts. Just straight up. So it looks like, okay, so you have 3 learning art icons, which means you probably are going to get 5 arts per Ouroboros as well. So you'll start with 2 and have to learn the rest. And then I'm guessing these are upgrade arts, the burst ones.
Even stronger.
Because it's not gonna show another icon, is it? Yeah, no. And then you also have chain orders from the Ouroboros, which this because it shows. I don't know why this says cool and cool. Maybe different affinity things let you determine which character can use an order. So Sen is doing that. Then so you could see which nation things are attached to, which role things are attached to, and Ouroboros is just everything.
I'll make it count.
Yeah, okay, so it does massive damage and helps out all of your rolls because it effectively gives tanks more aggro. So it helps literally everyone, while if you go back to Senna's, I believe it just helps just helps DPS.
I'll make it count.
Ouroboros can also take part in chain
Love the cut-in so
with
much.
the rest of the party.
And then, I'll talk about Mio's Ouroboros design a bit later. It's all graceful and dancery because it's Mio. And I love how they defuse as part of it, and then refuse. And I'm so happy that K Jewelers and I both made the same Silver Surfer joke when he did that, because that's just amazing.
We were sworn enemies once. And yet...
And then this is the beginning of Mactha, so probably very close to Juniper ambushing the party.
And yet, we all share the will to live in the now.
So another theme is probably living in the present day, because you never know when you're going to die.
Well, now I was afraid to take that first step.
This one shot looks so beautiful, even though you can tell the leaves are just textures and not actually 3D.
But now, I can do it.
Bro moment. This looks like a much bigger settlement than a lot of the colonies we've seen, so this could be... Look at all these rows of buildings, it's got a park. This could be Colony 6, like post-game Xenoblade 1 Colony 6 and not a Pharaonis. Look at Mia's diary. That's not written in legible language, but this could be months she has left or something.
Not like we can afford to.
Yeah, hold on, let's see. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18. So, I don't know. Like, I doubt they're going to put an actual time limit on the story, but as the story progresses, the 3 months Mio has left might get whittled down quite a bit.
To go just yet.
And back to... This is not the same big fight from the beginning, actually, because that's Kamaravi's colony. There's Nia on top of probably the Agnes Castle looking thing we've seen before. And let's see, the party got... Who got shot here? Someone's about to hit Noah and Mio. And that looks like an Ouroboros there, defending them, but I can't tell whose it is. And Uni is starting to glow. I'm assuming this is just her starting to fuse out of anguish.
Yeah.
And that's Lancena turning into Senna Lands. And they're fighting something. Yeah, hold on a minute. Is those two fighting what appears to be a purple clock Kamaravi mech and a purple clock Ethel mech like we saw earlier, so that's wild.
While my flame still flickers.
Yeah, there we go. There we have Alexandria also Brigid style extend her sword, so she is fighting the party once. So it looks like most heroes will fight the party at least once, and others will not. And let's see.
Well, my flame still flickers.
Mio's just talking about doing what she can while she's still alive. This is Xeon attacking a console, which is interesting. That means the heroes will be in the know about the consoles being the bad guys.
But I'm gonna change. Both me.
Is that the pod room? I don't think that's the pod room. This appears to be a Keves colony, and... Alright, yeah, we got Wild Ride fighting all of the Ouroboroses, or at least Noah and Mio. It's Noah, Mio, Senna lands. Don't know where Uni and Tyon are. Noah's crying in... there's moats around there, so people have just died. This might also be the pod room. Then this is one of the consoles who I believe we only saw in the theater otherwise. And that's D and P again. What's Noah launching out of when he does this? Hold on. Okay, it's Noah and Mio defusing and him summoning his weapon in Iron Man mode. And yeah, we can see. It doesn't look like Noah's actually got a prosthetic arm. If you go frame by frame, you can just see that it's not in his hand properly, and it literally doesn't matter because you won't be seeing that in gameplay. Alright, we're almost done. And the expansion pass is absolutely bonkers! Because that is all 3 swords. That's Noah's sword in Ouroboros form. That is Pyra's sword specifically. And that is not just a Monado, that's the Monado Rex Plus. That is the sword Shulk had at the end of Future Connected. So it's distinctly, like, obviously, this expansion pass is going to have a ton of fan service for 1 and 2 related things that, like, aren't going to be in the main game. Because I have a feeling Shulk and Rex will be dead, and the returning characters are going to be long-lived people, because this is going to take place a long time after 1 and 2. However, and like, this is only the icon for the expansion pass, and not the entire thing, so it's still weird that this isn't the most iconic version of the Monado, because even when Shulk showed up in Xenoblade 2, and was clearly a Shulk who had been through the entire story of 1, he had the Monado 1 instead of a replica, but he has his Future Connected sword here, so I wonder what version of Shulk we're going to get, and if whatever happens here is going to actually be canon. So on launch, it's just some items and some outfits, which is really not a big deal. Like, this is literally more than Xenoblade 2 got at launch.
Broaden the world of Xenoblade Chronicles.
Then by the end of 2022, we'll get the beginning of challenge mode, some new outfits. Keep in mind, this says new outfits and not outfit color variants. So it looks like we're just going to get Xenoblade 2 style recolors at launch. And we're going to get everything. They're going to get, like, actually new model outfits when this DLC drops. And a new hero character. It says character singular, so there's only 2 new hero characters instead of multiple new blades, so these are probably just going to be Shulk and Rex. And quests. It says hero character and quests, so it's probably hero quests are a thing, which means there are standard quests, hero quests, probably story quests. Then,
3 with a paid expansion pack.
By mid-2023, the rest of Challenge Battle, another new hero and quest. I'm guessing they're going to do Shulk and then Rex. More new outfits. And then last up, a new story scenario. And I believe this is the same cost as Xenoblade 2's expansion pass, which means it's probably going to be just as expensive, and the story is going to be just as good as Torna. Double checking how much the expansion pass is. I know as a fact, physical Torna cost $40 US. Just double checking to see if 2's digital, basically digital expansion pass is, yes, okay. So yeah, it's only $40 if you buy it separately. Don't know if this will be considered a separate thing like they did for Torna. I don't think they didn't announce that the physical Torna was going to be a thing until after Torna had already come out. So whether or not they'll be making this a standalone game, we don't know for sure. But as it is, this costs the exact same as 2's expansion pass, which means it's probably just going to be as good as 2's expansion pass. Especially since it's literally 2 waves of challenge battle instead of what 2 had, and DE's very mediocre offerings.
You can get the additional content shown here.
And we'll just see... Do the amiibo thing.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is compatible
So,
with amiibo
scanning a random
figures.
amiibo just gives you some items. Not really a big deal. I'm probably not going to use it. I'm literally not even going to use the care package the DLC gives you. And if you scan Shulk, you can turn Noah's weapon into the Monado 1, which appears to be using the exact same Monado 1 model from... I want to say that looks more like the DE version than the 2 version, but the coloring I'm not entirely sure. They only single out Shulk here because while Pyra and Mithra amiibos have been confirmed, they've not been announced. So the update that includes whatever the Pyra and Mithra amiibos do is probably, I'm saying probably and not definitely, going to be with part of the expansion pass drop because, like, my guess would be, I forget what the last Smash amiibo to come out was, but it's still going to be a couple before they get to Pyra Mithra, which means probably the April 30th, 2023 DLC is when we're going to get support for the Pyra and Mithra amiibo, which it's probably just going to turn, like, Noah's weapon into the Rex's, into Pyra's sword, and, I don't know, like, Alexandria's or Xeon's into Mithra's or something.
Shown here. Full in-game.
Yeah, so Shulk amiibo is just a cosmetic benefit. It does not matter whatsoever.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
And then...
launches July 29th.
They sure bumped up that release date, didn't they? Wowee.
Thank you for watching.
And just another beautiful landscape shot.
Enjoy your adventures in the world of Ionios.
Gonna show... I forget. Does it show any more story thing after this? Does not. Mercifully. Mercifully. Okay. Now we can move on to the Japanese website, because we're not done here yet. Except, JK, we're going to talk about the European website first, because what trailer does this play? That's the release date trailer. This is just generic stuff. This is just talking a little bit more about characters. Looks like, yeah, this is the only English version of some of the character bios that were Japanese only otherwise, which is interesting. And then World Big. This sort of implies that the boat is the only vehicle we get, which is kind of sad, but I'm glad to have vehicles back in a Xenoblade game. So we got this colony, we got that colony, we got that colony, we got Woods, we got Rotbart, we got the Fallen Arm, we got Pretty Sunset, and then... oh, this is a big deal. Once liberated, you can rest in the colonies. That is absolutely massive, actually. Okay. That's important. That explains why the colonies were welcoming people. You're liberating them from the consoles and possibly from, like, the rule of Agnes and Keves themselves. That is a massive paradigm shift, but it makes a lot of sense. And then we have another affinity chart screenshot, and we can zoom in on this and see Xeon's connected to this character. And Juniper. Very interesting, because once again, this one doesn't even have a Nopon intermediary. This is two heroes from different nations who have a trust on them, on their affinity chart, with no in-between with any party members. So it looks like some of the hero-related side quests will actually bring heroes together outside of just their relationships with the party, which is really, really neat. Also, Xeon's affinity is with Colony 9, affiliation with Colony 9, and he's on term 10, so he and Mio are both about to die. Then here's this specific image. This is the one that accidentally leaked Fiona on a Japanese site earlier. Then, oh, hold on, this is a little switching character thing.
Each character playing their role effectively.
That's lame, that's just a clip from the direct. Characters, Master Arts, this is just small clips from the direct. Heroes, and Ouroboros, and wow, look at that. European people actually get their special edition. And then this one's just like, hey, you can buy Xenoblade 1 and 2. Okay, then Japanese website. Because this got a massive amount of stuff as well. And we can see here's Arithia C got a little bio here. Then these are the 4 areas we already knew about. Then this is more campsite stuff. Then this is switching characters on field, treasure chests. Oh boy, okay, hold on. I'm gonna have to... Second image here is just a map. I'm gonna need to machine translate this as we go. Give me a second. This is the Penteros region. Okay. Little hard to tell what areas there are here, but this is all gray, which is weird. And then down here, I think this just says, yeah, that just says you can explore. Then here is just treasure. You can get items. There are various uses for materials, such as selling, using as ingredients, or using as material for crafting. And then here we can see... I'm going to just open the second image in a new tab. That's not the correct image. Hold on a minute. Only opens that one, so we're going to inspect that. That's not the right one. That's not the right one. Come on. All right. Time to do this the hard way, I guess. I don't know. Either way, it just says, like, Colony 9, Colony 9, Colony 4, Colony 9, Colony 9, and this is probably just NPC trading. Here we go. Here we go. The joys of doing one-take recordings. All right, let's see. So there's 3 kinds of quests. There's favorites, and there's whatever this icon is. Collectopedia card. Okay, that's interesting. The top character is Fox. Second character is Polo. Third character is Solon. This one is Sir Jill. The Napon is Sir Jill, and says Napon Caravan, not any colony, which is really interesting. So it's Napon Caravan in Colony 9, and second from the bottom is Iris, who's a Homs, and Tutrish. Or is it Trish or Tutrish? No, it's just Trish. Okay. And then it looks like, instead of having regional collectopedias, each character wants one of a certain item. Super interesting. Let's see what it says up top. I would like wood from all over the Fornis region, is what this line up here says. So it looks like you're not going to have area collectopedias, or either, in order to turn in your collectopedia things, characters from within a region are going to want certain categories of items. So it looks like it's not just going to be a completely bland thing. It's going to be you're literally fulfilling people's requests for different items, which is really neat. Okay. That's done. Name this back out. Go on to here. There we go. This is the fashion gear icon. So we can see it's currently set to, I think that just says off-seer, because it's kanji. What does the one on the right say? Is that more and more? All right, that doesn't want to translate, but okay, yeah. So top one is no fashion, sword fighter, and then what he currently has equipped, which probably says off-seer. So there is just a straight up fashion gear tab where you can choose whatever outfits you've unlocked for that character. Then this is initiating battle. It's just screenshot, no big deal there. Next up is cooking, no big deal there. Gem crafting, no big deal there. Talking to people, possibly a big deal. What's Mio saying about 30? Even in Colony 30, Fortune Clover production is popular. There are 30 Keves colonies. Jesus. And then I believe you can just confirm, yeah, normal quest. Then we have Valdi here alongside the Napon, so looks like depending on where you go, different heroes will participate in these conversations as well. It's just world big, swimming, water combat, which is absolutely wild. See what it says about swimming. Like, does it say you can actually dive underwater? Deep water. The deep water side swims and moves. You can fight even if you encounter an enemy in the water. I don't think that means you can swim. Or you can dive. And this one just says a boat. And next is just ziplining, climbing, and talking to people. Okay. This is a big deal. It looks like, okay, this looks a bit different from the colony clock we saw before, so I am guessing this is the actual colony affinity. This character's name is auto-translating to I'm for some reason. And they are saying it's a wind-sounding cave, right? That's the territory of monsters. I'm sorry. So it looks like this person's giving you a quest to go to a windy cave, and you're gaining reputation for this colony. Then the heart-to-heart icon thing says just affinity chart registration. And the quest icon in the upper left there says Pentaris region is wherever the quest has to go. Alright, that's everything there. The story and character. Yeah, this they added recently, where they have voice clips for each of these characters now. Come down here. Rico and Manana are there. Then, finally, that's not what I meant to do. We finally sort of see Melia and Nia. And then that was Agnes stuff. This just says Queen again. Doesn't say Melia and Nia. And like, hey, Ethel's there. Kamaravi's there. Isur just doesn't make it there for some reason. And then we can now see Valdi, Xion, and Juniper. And I absolutely love this. Valdi is Rudy in Japanese. Juniper is Yuzuriha in Japanese. They have the Japanese spellings and then their actual localized names here. So the developers clearly wrote off on the localized names here. This was all part of their doing. And I believe, like, Alexandria and Fiona also have different names. I think Ashera might be the same. And I think I gotta check Gray. Yeah. Gray is still Gray. Ashera is still Ashera. But if we go back here, Fiona is Mashiro, and Alexandria is Nina. So, yeah, these are just part and parcel blade name type changes. It's mostly the Agnes characters that get changed, which is really funny. And then they say and more, because, of course, there are more heroes. And then, again, I've talked about this before, but Consul governs the colonies of both Kevas and Agnes, a mysterious existence that controls two countries that should be hostile. In battle, it transforms into a deformed figure Moebius that exceeds 5 meters. Interesting. And then that's just D. The katakana here just says D as well. And then question mark, we're calling this person N until we know for sure. And just, hey, is Van Damme. Exploration, I believe, is the tab we went through already. And battle system is, I think most of this has been, yeah, because that's just, you can do attacking, you can do arts, you can do fusions. I love this animation. The roles exist, that's how they do that. Then it's just explaining each of the roles here about class switching. And then this is, I believe, just the classes for each of the heroes we've seen already. Vivaldi, Juniper, Xion, Fiona, what's her name, Gray. And you can switch that thing. You can Ouroboros. This is all stuff from the same year. So then this is, you can actually link to different parts of the video, which is super neat. That's just showing break, topple, launch, smash. Then this is just showing chain attack. And this is just showing fusion arts. Okay. And then the fusion tab. We're almost there. This is just, hey, it fuses the worlds. Hey, the characters also fuse. You've seen Noah's before. That looks like lands. Mio's is Cosmos. Just throwing that one out there. They're reusing a Xenogears mech design and a Xenosaga important character design there too. Then Lanz's doesn't really look like anything from a previous game. It looks like Riditon Sasarvina more than anything. And again, I said Senna's is Crescens from Xenogears. Then Uni's just kind of looks like that, I guess. And Tyon's is just impossibly cool looking. I don't know how they're going to top that with other future forms or something. It even has little paper things. Also sort of interesting, the Keves versions have 1 core. Agnes versions have 2 cores. So I don't think that means the Agnes versions are more powerful, but it looks like they came afterwards and are a result of further synchronization. And then this is also fusing classes. Okay. And then movie is just the 3 trailers, which means 2.5 hours in, we are done. Thank you for watching this analysis. And thank you for your continued support of my channel. I don't know if I'm going to do a lot more Xenoblade 3 stuff pre-release, but you bet I'm going to be talking everything about it once the game comes out and I've gotten to beat it on my own time. So please stay tuned for more non-Xenoblade 3 content. And until next time, I am Luxon, signing off.